Good evening and welcome to World News Tonight. I'm your host, Marie Cato. Let's take a look at this evening's headlines. The 3C summit in Bucharest ends on a high note despite drone strikes near the Romanian border. Big money, big deals, and cutting-edge arms. We visit the Defense Expo in Kielce. Gabon's president is released from house arrest by the military junta. We didn't have to wait long for the Kremlin's reaction to Antony Blinken's visit to Kiev and his declarations there. Washington's support for Ukraine not only remains unwavering, it grows stronger despite the saber-rattling from Putin. We now go live to our correspondent in Kiev. Good evening, Oz. Tell us more about what's happening in Ukraine today.
Good evening. Yes, US Secretary of State Antony Blinken announced that the transfer of assets that have been seized from Russian oligarchs. And he said that money would be put towards supporting Ukrainian military veterans. Let's take a listen to that clip now.
For the first time, we are transferring to Ukraine assets seized from sanctioned Russian oligarchs, which will now be used to support Ukrainian military veterans. Those who have enabled Putin's war of aggression should pay for it. We're continuing life-saving humanitarian assistance, emergency shelter for those whose homes Russia has destroyed. Today, we're committing an additional $206 million toward that effort, much of which is dedicated to helping the more than 6 million Ukrainians who are displaced by Russia's war.
And that prompted a furious response from Moscow, with Putin's press secretary Dmitry Peskov saying, as soon as an opportunity presents itself, we will defend our rights.
Indeed. So, meanwhile, the Ukrainian counteroffensive seems to be picking up steam after a slow start. What are the latest updates from the front line?
So yeah, there's heavy fighting in the Zaporizhia Oblast, south and east of Robotyne. And there's the towns of Novoprokopivka and Verbove. And there's heavy artillery shelling of those areas of entrenched Russian positions. So it's slow but steady progress, and expect to see more news from that area in the coming days. Back over to you in the studio.
Thanks very much for that update. I'll stay safe. Day 2 of the 3C summit in the Romanian capital has wrapped up. Apart from discussions on security issues, which all the members of the format are dealing with, migration and energy top the agenda of the talks in Bucharest.
While the 3Cs initiative is home to some 111 million people, their GDP is just 78% of the EU average. In light of recent turmoil, however, Eastern Europe and Poland in particular have emerged as an investor haven for businesses from around the world.
Despite many challenges of both political and economic nature, the 3Cs initiative has proved its instrumental role in securing favorable conditions for businesses to prosper.
The 3Cs project includes Austria, Bulgaria, the Czech Republic, Estonia, Hungary, Latvia, Lithuania, Poland, Slovakia, Romania, and now also the latest addition, Greece. All of the initiative's members have increased efforts to improve and expedite cargo transit by building interconnecting roads, railways, and pipelines.
This will help our economies and will also guarantee that Ukrainian grain reaches markets across the world.
Topping the agenda for Day 2 of the 3-day forum was the issue of illegal migration, both in the Mediterranean and on the Polish-Belarusian border.
That political pressure should give rise to effective action. And when I say effective, I mean something that actually works.
Although defense and security were two of the summit's key issues, officials gathered in Bucharest also addressed problems plaguing the energy market. With the Russian Federation using gas deliveries for political pressure, members of the 3Cs initiative must manage without Russian supplies.
If not for the decision to build the LNG terminal and the Baltic Pipe gas pipeline, we would be in a much more precarious situation. It is thanks to the discussions at the 3Cs summit that we are currently safe and sound.
The summit's beginning was overshadowed by another crisis, as a Russian drone targeting Ukrainian infrastructure might have struck Romanian soil in the early hours of Thursday.
If it is confirmed that these elements belong to a Russian drone, such a situation would be completely inadmissible and a serious violation of the sovereignty and territorial integrity of Romania, a NATO ally.
And gets ready.
The officials gathered at the summit have reaffirmed that the Russian war in Ukraine has reshaped the political landscape in the region, ushering in closer cooperation between the 3Cs members. The format's next meeting will take place in Vilnius, as Lithuania will take over the presidency in the group in 2024.
The foreign ministers of the Baltic and Nordic countries arrived in Latvia to discuss regional security. The main focus was on energy security as well as hybrid threats. The officials also discussed further aid for Ukraine.
The countries of the Nordic-Baltic Aid Organization might have different languages and cultures, but they all share a common concern: the proximity to Russia and Belarus. This, alongside the growing migration pressure on the EU's outer borders, were the main reasons the organization gathered for these latest talks.
We identified attempts to illegally cross the border through an opening created in the fence. In the back, we saw Belarusian officials wearing different uniforms. Later, it can be seen that they tried to seal the whole up on the Belarusian side so that the trespassers could not return.
This is why Latvia and Lithuania have been taking additional security measures along their borders, including closing several crossings.
We are ready to make the decision to close the entire border with Belarus if the circumstances change, assuming that this would be a regional solution.
Recently, the European Commission has visibly relaxed its stance on the two countries' migration policies, going so far as to defend them. Latvia and Lithuania, previously widely criticized for trampling on asylum rights, are now being praised for doing their best to protect the EU border. And just last Wednesday, Frontex, the Warsaw-based European Border and Coast Guard agency, won a case brought against it by a Syrian refugee family after being transferred to Turkey in 2016. The family eventually fled to Iraq.
Today's ruling confirms that while Frontex supports member states in returns, it cannot assess the merits of return decisions.
But apart from border security, the Nordic Baltic 8 countries also discussed further aid for Ukraine.
We are determined to stay with Ukraine until its victory.
Finland's unwavering support continues for as long as it's needed.
The gathered ministers also talked about Ukraine's NATO and European Union aspirations.
Over 60% of Russian citizens living in Latvia are facing deportation after failing their Latvian language tests. Meanwhile, this year, for the first time, Latvian schools will no longer hold lessons in Russian. Our Riga correspondent Ines Shuzyanuka has more on the linguistic changes underway in Latvia.
September is bringing major changes for some residents of Latvia. More than 25,000 Russian citizens living in country saw their permanent residence permits expire on September 1st. Around 19,000 people have applied or are planning to renew their status. However, nearly 1 in 5 Russian nationals have done nothing to obtain a residence permit. They are now expected to receive letters from Latvian Citizenship and Migration Office telling them to leave the country within 90 days.
These are people who are affected by the amendments to the immigration law, but who, knowing that they will not be able to pass the Latvian language test, have submitted applications for temporary residence permits. They have a legal right to request temporary residence if they are studying or employed in Latvia, or if they have family ties here.
This week, the Interior Ministry submitted an amendment to Parliament to change the immigration law. The new legislation would give Russian citizens living in Latvia 2 more years to pass a Latvian language test to A2 or advanced beginner level and arrange the necessary documentation. September is also start of the new school year, and following recent reforms of the education system, all Latvian schools will gradually switch to teaching only in Latvian over a 3-year period. To ease the transition process, schools arranged meetings for their first graders before the start of the school year, held camps for children and teachers. From Riga, Ines Shuzyanuka, TVP World.
Over the past few days, Tallinn has become a center for discussions on the issues of the future. How can governments prevent crises? How should they govern in times of war? And finally, how can we bring justice and make reparations for victims of past conflicts? Our correspondent Sasha Farbach traveled to Estonia to find the answers.
Now, you can't prevent a crisis, but you can certainly build policy so you're ready for one. So that is the theme here at the OGP, the second day, the Open Government Partnership. That's global summit here, drawing 70 countries, and over 2,000 participants have come here together to talk about how technology intersects there. Technology is not a panacea that is going to solve everything. Very important time as the world deals, and the democracies of this world have to deal with authoritarian regime. But it's not just about open government, it's also about justice. And I think this is really key. And we had the pleasure earlier to speak to a young lady who's working with an NGO out of Ukraine and documenting those crimes there being perpetrated by Russians.
Our main aim is perpetrators to be found out and justice to settle. And as talking about the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, Rosatom has offices in many countries. A lot of countries are still going through business with it, ignoring that Rosatom is violating all the human laws by torturing, killing. We know at least about one case of person being tortured to death on the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant.
So there you go. Really vital, important work. I think this kind of forum here really shows you that moving forward, the world needs to pay more attention to this part of the world. And when the world is talking about the future of our planet, well, it's coming here to Tallinn, Estonia, to this Central and Eastern European region to talk about all things how to make our planet work better. Sasha Farbach for TVP World in Tallinn, Estonia.
NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg met with the president of Kosovo, Vjosa Osmani-Saglu, on Thursday to discuss the rising tensions in the country's north. The alliance is planning to deploy hundreds of additional KFOR troops to the region after over 90 of them were wounded in clashes earlier this year.
Despite the apparent calm after the events of May 2023, northern Kosovo is still a highly volatile area. Fulfilling the UN's orders to keep the area stable, Jens Stoltenberg has announced plans to fortify KFOR, NATO's peacekeeping forces in Kosovo.
In response to the recent unrest, NATO has deployed hundreds of additional troops to Kosovo. KFOR continues to monitor the situation closely, and we stand ready to act as necessary to fulfill our UN mandate.
Not only that, any and all deployments of the Kosovo security force to the northern part of the country will have to be discussed with KFOR. Kosovo is also reducing the number of special police in the north and is planning to facilitate new municipal elections, which were the spark that lit the disputed region on fire in May. That doesn't mean, however, that Pristina is giving up on its northern territory.
Let me be clear, the north of Kosovo was and will continue to be an integral part of the Republic of Kosovo. We will not allow the north of Kosovo to become the battlefield for achieving hegemonic ambitions of regional autocrats.
President Osmani also offered NATO full cooperation in finding and convicting the perpetrators of the May attacks on KFOR troops. She alleged that the attackers were Serbs, citing an investigation.
For more on Kosovo and its aspirations to join NATO and the EU, stay with us for TVP World's exclusive interview with Prime Minister Albin Kurti after the news. The third day of the International Defense Industry Expo in Kielce, Poland has come to a close. This highly prestigious event is coming to an end tomorrow. Meanwhile, our reporter Kazimierz Wysiak is about to walk us through some of the most eye-catching parts of the expo.
To quote a popular video game, war never changes. But this is not a video game, this is real life. And the people gathered here at the International Defense Industry Exhibition in Kielce, Poland know better than anyone that while the concept of war stays the same, its means are moving forward faster than ever. Join us on the tour on Europe's third largest military exhibition here in southern Poland. More than 700 companies, hundreds of stalls and state-of-the-art military equipment. It's all here and you can do more than see it. You can touch it, test it and learn all about it from the industry's top experts.
To bolster the Polish armed forces, we need to equip them, strengthen them, recruit new soldiers and manufacture new weapons. But to do all that, to quote the great statesman Józef Piłsudski, we need money, money, money.
There are more than 30 countries showcasing their top military hardware at the exhibition, but there are three major pavilions which stand out: Poland, the United States and South Korea.
This is the FA-50, the light fighters, but it has very strong capabilities and capacities. So this aircraft for Poland Air Force is the most advanced light fighter in the world. 2 days ago, we had the MOU agreement with EasyJet. That is one of the important, most famous in Poland to support military defense in Poland.
The biggest arms supplier for Poland is the United States. The VP of Lockheed Martin talked us through some of the major deals signed here at the exhibition.
This is the Javelin, and so this is one of our simulators, so if you feel the need later on today, please make sure that you take advantage of that. So signed that memorandum yesterday, and we'll begin very quickly looking at actually building components, doing assembly, test, and delivery of JAGMs right here in Poland.
So that's pretty groundbreaking news, right? Production of Javelins, we don't have to buy them somewhere else anymore.
Exactly.
And now you've seen some of the most important parts of the exhibition. War is unfortunately a hugely profitable business, but military hardware can be used both for evil and for good. And everyone here has one goal in mind: to protect Poland, to protect NATO, to protect the entire democratic world. From Kielce, Kazimierz Wysiak, TVP World.
This year's edition of the Polish Economic Forum has just drawn to a close in southern city of Karpacz. Our correspondent Don Arlith has the rundown of this special event. Take a look.
After 3 days, we saw thousands of participants, over 540 debates, and participants coming from over 60 countries. The topics range from security to cybersecurity to business, economics. You name it, it was on show here at the Polish Economic Forum this year. Before we conclude, I want to highlight one other important aspect about this economic forum, and that is the question of women and their role in business.
It is crucial to have boys in the conversation. We all learn social norms and behaviors at home. I mean, that's where it usually starts. The school is typically the next environment where we look around and we kind of then replicate what we see. And that's why it is very important to have an inclusive culture.
And of course, a very important issue raised by Alexandra Gren there, trying to advocate to get men and women to work together to increase the percentage of women on management boards of large corporations around the world. Reporting from the Karpacz Economic Forum, Don Arlith, TVP World.
Still to come on World News tonight. The kiss that divided a nation. And the story of the Ulma family whose beatification takes place on Sunday. The 43rd ASEAN Summit in Indonesia has concluded with the leaders' focus on economic cooperation, but with little to no progress on the Myanmar crisis. The final day of the summit was marked by the arrival of Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who will host the G20 summit next week.
In the final day discussions of the ASEAN Summit, both Bangladeshi President Mohammad Shahabuddin and Indonesian President Joko Widodo urged the international community to take immediate action to resolve the situation in Myanmar.
On humanitarian ground, even in the 7th year of the crisis, there is no solution in sight.
Back in 2017, hundreds of thousands from the Rohingya minority were forced to flee their homes in Myanmar's Rakhine state due to widespread violence. Over 1 million refugees have taken shelter in Bangladesh, most of whom reside in the Cox's Bazar region. The region, which is home to Kutupalong, the world's largest refugee camp, has been hosting the displaced people for the last 7 years. Sideline meetings took place throughout the 3 days of the summit, which was attended by the 10 bloc member states and their allies.
ASEAN is the central pillar of India's At East policy. India fully supports ASEAN centrality and the ASEAN outlook on the Indo-Pacific.
After the closing ceremony, the participating countries adopted a joint declaration to sum up the summit's concrete agreements on regional and global issues, which failed to mention Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine. The declaration was agreed upon by all participating countries, including the US, Russia, China and Canada.
The leaders of Gabon's military junta have
They
released the country's
agreed?
ousted President Ali Bongo, allowing him to travel abroad for medical treatment.
They agreed not
The coup
to
leaders say
mention it,
Bongo
pieces
is now,
of shit.
quote, free to move about.
The decision to release Gabon's overthrown president came after Ali Bongo had been kept under house arrest for a week. The move was prompted by health concerns. Mr. Bongo suffered a stroke in 2018 and requires medical supervision.
The Committee for the Transition and Restoration of Institutions, CTRI, reaffirms that given his state of health, the former president of the Republic, Ali Bongo Ondimba, is free to move about. He may, if he wishes, travel abroad for medical care.
Bongo was ousted by the junta on August 30th in a coup d'etat, right after he was declared the winner of controversial elections that would extend his 14-year
Apparently
rule as
Bosnia is
president.
invited.
Following the military takeover,
Gonna
the
be
junta has sworn
Brubix.
in the coup leader as transitional president.
At the end of this transition, with the support of all Gabonese development partners, we intend
Biggest
to
cucks of the
return
day.
power to civilians by organizing new,
Wait, what
free,
happened? Why?
transparent, and credible elections in a climate of social peace.
International reaction
Maybe
to the
they're
coup in
into
Gabon
cuckold,
differed
really,
from
you
those that
never
followed
know.
earlier events in Niger, another African country. Of the two, only the Nigerian coup drew strong condemnation from France, even though both nations gained independence from Paris in 1960.
Can't
At current
wait for
figures stand out,
Bosnia
while
and
Gabon
Serbia
was,
to
at least
enter
until
BRICS.
recently, nominally a democratic country.
There was room for
So we
doubt
would have even more
over the
countries
fairness or the
in that
accuracy
stupid-ass
of the
organization
elections
having
of
territorial disputes with each other.
2009
I'm sure
and
that's going to affect the stability of it.
2016 and possibly of 2023
That is how
as
they
well.
will take over the
This is
dollar.
mainly because the family of the ousted president ruled the country for 56 years. However, the coup in Gabon was the 8th in the West and Central Africa in
All
the last
three
3 years.
African
This has raised
military guys
concerns
at
about the
different
spread of
camps.
military takeovers across the region and the associated
It's
democratic
so you
backsliding.
always can't see one of them at
Johnny
least.
Kitagawa, the founder of Japan's
Depends on
biggest
the
and most
territory,
powerful
you know.
talent agency, has been confirmed
Depends on which
to have
environment
sexually
they are
assaulted
in.
young pop idols
One
during
of
his
them
time as
always
head of
blends
the
in.
organization. His niece broke the news, simultaneously stepping down from the position passed down to her by her late uncle.
During a press conference held by Johnny
Well,
and
his name
Associates,
is
the company's
Bongo.
president, Julie Fukushima, said this.
Johnny and Associates and
NATO is not
myself,
the
Julie
same thing as
Keiko
BRICS.
Fukushima, as an individual, recognize that Johnny Kitagawa did
NATO is
sexually
more
abuse
akin
the
to
boys. I
CSTO.
apologize to the victims from the bottom of my heart.
Around 4 years
BRICS
after the passing
would
of
be
Johnny
more
Kitagawa,
comparable
his niece
to
finally admitted her late uncle's despicable crimes. Alongside her testimony and apology,
European
she
Union?
also decided to step down from the position of the company's head. Kitagawa, nicknamed the Emperor of Entertainment,
Which doesn't
has
have
chokehold
territorial
in the Japanese
disputes.
music industry since he founded his company. in
But like NATO is a
1962.
different thing.
The father of J-pop has 2 Guinness World Records for having the most #1 singles and most concerts produced by an individual. Johnny Kitagawa is also responsible
CSTO
for
is
creating
Mac?
and
Yeah,
promoting
CSTO
some of
is
the
shit
most popular
compared to
boy
NATO.
bands in East Asia. He was highly regarded in life and remembered fondly in death by many. He was never
I mean,
punished for his
shit.
crimes. Despite the company protecting Kitagawa's name long after his passing, his
Nah, it
victims
is shit.
continued to tell their
It is
story,
shit.
hoping their voices will be heard.
Johnny started massaging my feet and
You
his
can be
hands
banned on
gradually
kick?
moved
How
up
did
to
you
touch
get
my
banned on
genitals from
kick?
my underwear. He then took off my underwear and directly touched my genitals. Johnny then proceeded to perform oral sex on me.
Bro, what the
The whole
fuck?
time, I pretended I was asleep.
The admission to Johnny Kitagawa's guilt was received well by some of his victims, starting a slow process of healing from the Godfather's horrible deeds.
Jenny Hermoso has filed a legal complaint after the head of the Spanish Football Association kissed her
Shall
during
we?
the celebrations of a
Hey,
victorious
Hitler,
World
what you
Cup
were, like,
finale
streaming?
battle. Although Rubiales has said the display was, quote, mutual and consensual, the Spanish footballer disagrees.
Spanish forward Jenny Hermoso filed a legal complaint over the now infamous kiss after the female World Cup final.
Hey, you're
Her case
Spain.
caused major divide in Spanish society, with some supporting Rubiales and others Hermoso. The controversy sparked demonstrations nationwide, and it's hard to find anyone who wouldn't voice their opinion.
Hitler dude kinda social.
We are all with Jenny, with
I don't
all
know
the
what that
footballers
kick
who have
rules
won
and
the World
like
Cup and who are
sus
now on strike
content.
or are leaving the national team.
I know on Twitch it's
What
allowed in
happens is it has
educational
allowed us to see
context.
that
Maybe
it's
kick
not
doesn't
just
allow
a
it.
kiss, and therefore it has allowed us to explain very well what consent is, or what the lack of consent is, what sexual violence is.
The kiss caused a major scandal in Spain and abroad. Players on the Spanish men's football team showed their support for Hermoso.
We want to express our regret and our solidarity with the players who have seen their success tarnished.
Bueno, es un tema
It's a very delicate issue, but with the Rubiales
It's
issue,
not a
I think
delicate
his
issue, my
behavior has
dude.
been unacceptable.
Rubiales has an
It's
open
not a
case before
delicate
the Spanish
fucking
Tribunal
issue.
of Sports and has lost the backing of Spanish football players. So far, 81 Spanish players, 23 of them world champions, refused to play for the national team unless the controversial FA boss is removed from his position.
An exhibition celebrating the Ulmas, a Polish family murdered for harboring Jews during World War II, has just opened in Warsaw. Some of the photographs on display were taken by the father, Josef Ulma.
is a
The Ulmas
theoretical
and their
trade
7 children were
organization,
killed by Nazi
unlike
Germans
NAFTA.
in 1944
It doesn't
after they were
actually represent
discovered
any
hiding
major
a Jewish
trade
family in their
agreements,
home
only an
in the
agreement to
village
work
of
towards them.
Markowa in
Yeah, I'm not
southeastern
sure,
Poland.
that's why.
Alex Simlinska has
I see that, It's
An
like,
exhibition titled The Ulma Family, There Is No
it has
Greater
nothing to
Love
do with
has been
NATO,
opened
definitely.
in Warsaw as part of
Even
the
with European
celebrations of the
Union, like I
upcoming
think it's
beatification
closer
of the
to
family.
that
It
than to
showcases the
NATO
most
for sure,
important
but even
moments in
it's
the
not
life
like
of the
European
Ulma
Union
family.
thing.
The wedding of Yusuf and Victoria,
I don't
the
know
birth
what's
of their
another
children,
type of
time war, and the period when the
organization
family hid a group of Jews until March 24th,
that you could
1944,
compare
when they were murdered by Nazi Germans for hiding the
bricks
Jewish family.
to.
There were some people
I don't know if anything else
who
exists.
were ready to save humanity, I can say, to sacrifice the life of of themselves and also the life of
DB,
their
how's work going?
children, their,
How's work? How's work? Are you
members of
enjoying
families.
it?
So this is why
Are you having
this
fun?
act of terrorism was so important. And that's why we prepared this exhibition to present this act of terrorism to everybody.
On Sunday, September 10th, the entire Ulma family will be beatified in their home village of Markowa in southeastern Poland.
Absolutely
This will be the
not.
first time an entire family, including an unborn child, will be beatified. 1,000 priests, bishops, and cardinals will come celebrate the Mass, and more than 32,000 people have signed up to take part. For TVP World from Warsaw, Alexandra Simlinska.
We already covered Kosovo in the news today and about how the country is dealing with the looming threat from Serbia. Some observers are warning that the country could one day share the fate of Ukraine. But officials in Pristina have more priorities than just defense. They're also looking to the future,
Pristina.
betting heavily on technology development and democracy. Our correspondent Sasha
Pristina.
Farbach caught up with Kosovo's Prime Minister Albin Kurti in
Pristina.
Tallinn and talked to him about his country's aspirations.
Okay, shit goes bad on Twitch. Yeah, I kind of wanted to start streaming on Kick for a while. Like during streaming on Twitch. I actually might. I actually might. I got a bit spooked because recently I got reported by someone in Germany. I love this dude, by the way. He looks beautiful.
Thank you very much for having me.
He looks the way I feel. I love him. Look at him.
Idea of joining Europe. I mean, you are a candidate
I wish my eyes would show how tired I am in the way his eyes do it.
But
I
I remember it too well in 2008.
I forgot what I wanted to say.
How important that is.
Yeah, I got real scared because someone from Germany reported me once, and I got the report in my inbox. Like Twitch has to let you know. I don't know what, but they have to let you know that you have gotten reported by someone. And it was, I think, just a few days after Topsin got banned, actually. So it got me a bit worried. I wanted to start streaming on Kick then, but then I asked Topsin about it, and he was like, nah, that's just normal. Like, that doesn't mean anything, that's just normal. So it kind of calmed me down, but, you know, still might be a smart thing to do, you never know.
We have applied for membership in European Union last December. We need help from those who did recognize us with the non-recognized.
I'm breaking my celibacy with your mom.
EU, 26 out of 30 in NATO, and 34
Ukraine has the
out of
capability
46
to strike Russians in Russia,
because we combine
so that whole offensive can slow down for now. They're still doing strong fights. They're still doing strong fights. Like right now, there are very harsh battles happening. And plus, Russians seem to be, how would I say it, panicking. Shitting their pants, maybe a better way to say it. I saw one of them on Telegram calling for Russia to take the conscripts from the back lines and to put them to the front lines to stop the Ukrainian offensive.
Of the future. I mean, it's also tech related, but we've seen a rise of disinformation.
Like, bro, they've been doing
across
that.
the board, not just
What
the
do you
United
think
States, but across Europe as
the
well.
lines have been
Very
standing
much
for all this time?
Certain nations.
They've been doing that for a while.
What is Kosovo doing? What is the government
Like,
doing
what
to
are
try
you
and
talking
counter
about?
those influences that go and treat
The
these
offensive
informations
currently
as
okay.
against you?
Currently it's doing fine, yeah. Ukrainians are doing very well, protecting as many lives as possible. So that part is definitely, they're very, very careful in that regard, and it makes absolute sense that they are. The new deliveries are being okay. We are seeing new weapons deployed, also okay. Basically, currently, like we're doing fine. We're doing fine.
What worries me even more are fake narratives and fake histories. So deformation of the past, of the objective facts on the ground. Denial of genocide, of massacres, of ethnic cleansing.
Major logistic routes in south with most open types. Yeah, I think a big part of the plan is to destroy the supply routes, right?
Ministers, prime ministers, presidents should not
be. Yeah, don't rush B, and also genuinely, I think it's very, very good that they're trying to be as safe as possible when it comes to soldiers' lives.
Also for Kosovo and Ukraine. How is that relationship?
One-to-one?
I think there's a lot of kindred spirits there in these two nations.
That's fair. That's fair. Holy shit. I feared it would be worse, to be honest. I remember people saying that like the side doing the offensive always will lose more than the side defending. So that's
who does not want to have any kind of introspection or facing of the past regarding what they have done to us. But on the contrary, they want all or part of our territory. And this is
the ground. My view of this is that the ground they have taken. How would I say this? Fades in relevance to the logistics they have been bombing the shit out of. It brings us back to time before the offensive. If you remember, we talked about this, how plenty Westerners will look at the map and they will see that there are no blue lines, red lines moving around, and they will think there's nothing going on. And they will ignore the reports of generals being killed, and they will ignore the reports of fuel supply burning, and they will ignore the reports of railways being destroyed. They will ignore the reports of logistics being demolished because they don't see little colors on the map. So if there's no little colors on the map, to plenty online observers, they think there's nothing going on, right? Like there has to be pretty colors on the map for something to be happening. And I think that's exactly what we're seeing in a lot of commentary over this counteroffensive.
However, Serbia is not Russia, and we have NATO in Kosovo. Serbia will fail. We have achieved de-escalation.
One proper person to one son of whore. Yeah, that's an incredibly sad thing over this. An incredibly sad thing over this.
I think that democratic West, EU and US, are waiting a bit
like one-to-one is a very
take over Serbia from Russia.
Impressive ratio, I want to say, for a side that's doing the offensive. But still, my dude, still.
Support for EU in Serbia is 35%.
That's one person defending their home lost.
Doesn't think about it, just as they do not think
for every, what? Fucking pedophile who ran out of jail to go commit a genocide. You know, it's like sad, very sad, incredibly fucking sad.
Thank you very much. We are a young country, ancient people, but all these challenges ahead mean that we have a lot of victories in front of us.
For the full version of this in-depth interview, be sure to visit our social media channels.
Ocean
This brings
Factory
us
is
to the end of
banning
this
all over
evening's
Russia.
edition
There's
of World
definitely.
News Tonight. Thank you for joining us, and good night.
Hey, thank you for ending World News. We gotta go watch my clippies. I saved a lot of them. Economic collapse within Russia, not due to Ukrainians taking trenches. I could see that outcome. I think, you know what's my problem with like economic collapse within Russia? It's like when people say, oh, if Russia loses Crimea, then the war will be lost for Russia. Like this is how we end the war. Russia is going to lose Crimea, and to Russians losing Crimea is going to have great symbolic meaning. and then they will make Putin stop the war. And I've seen people say that, you know, the economy of Russia is also going to do the same thing. Like when Moscows start, you know, having to shit outdoors, they will force Putin to end the war. My thing with any sort of a theory demanding any sort of action from Russians, any, and I mean any, action meant to save their own asses included in this, I think it will not happen, because I think ultimately what Russians are like ultimate useless people. I do not believe they will rise up. I believe every single Moscow would rather go eat shit than do anything meaningful. The chance of them revolting against Putin, no matter how bad their situation gets, is as minimal as it could be. If they do it again, you know, they're more than free to change my mind. So far, whatever I've seen them do, not just during this war, during the last few decades of their existence, has been them just being useless. I don't really see them as capable of anything, to be completely honest. Like my hope in Russians is basically zero. Basically zero. Whenever I hope they will do something, they shit on it. They start doing the mobilizations and you're like, damn, wow, the Russians may be going to protest now because their men are being mobilized for a useless war. Nothing happens. Nothing fucking happens. Wagner starts doing a coup, you're like, damn, nice, let's see Russians now starting to do a revolt. Nothing happens. Prigozhin gets exploded. Hey, let's see Wagnerites try to do a coup. Nothing happens. Nothing ever happens. Wagnerites start coming back to Russia to rape and kill. Nothing happens. Nothing ever happens. People get circus tickets for their dead loved ones being killed. Nothing happens. And this isn't a new thing. They've been like this, again, for fucking decades. Nothing ever happens. They never do shit. So yeah, my level of hope in Russians is basically zero. $1914, yeah, that too. Satanism influencing Ukraine. There was actually a report on this. Did I save it? I didn't save it. The idea of Ukrainians being Satanists is based on the fact that Russians stormed a Ukrainian position at one point, and the position had, I believe it was trash bags, and they were put on window panes. And Russians claim that these trash bags were like there as some part of a satanic ritual or whatever. Pretty much everyone there said nothing would happen during the Prigozhin revolt. Yeah, that too. I at the time of Prigozhin revolt, I still had some hope, to be honest. I feel kind of stupid for that, but I still had some hope. I'm kind of proud because when Prigozhin got exploded, I've seen plenty of people saying that something's gonna happen in Russia finally, and I was like, bro, no, nothing's gonna happen. And hey, surprise, nothing happened. Nothing will ever happen in Russia. They could crumble down. Their economy could get absolutely demolished and nothing will happen in Russia. Want everything done for them? Hey, maybe we need to see Ukrainians, revolting in their name. Wasn't that what Navalny team has claimed? Which one of them? Was it Volkov? Who said that the mistake of Ukrainians was that in 2014, when Ukrainians did Maidan, they didn't also help Russians protest against Putin. So yeah, I don't know. My level of hope in them is zero. Lots of paperwork to be done. They're not Germans! They're not Germans to be doing their bureaucratic little things. That's a funny thing though. Imagine Germans just trying to protest. Is that why they don't have protests? You probably have to file out like lots of paperwork to do it. When I came to Germany, the first present I ever got from a German was one of those like files. You know those like huge files for binding your paperwork? That was the first present I got. And he was like, this is like my gift to you. because you're going to be, yeah, registrator, yeah, because you're going to be living in Germany for a while. And I was like, bro, why am I gonna need this? Like, it was a huge one. It was like this big, right? Why would I need this shit? I know you're gonna make a joke about that, you little bitch. And he was like, you will need it, trust me. And yeah, like, see, because I remember going to, there was this one thing where you could go and apply to get German language classes in Germany as a foreigner, and just for that shit I needed to fill out so much paperwork. Whenever I would go to a job interview, I needed to file paperwork. I did jobs, it was like volunteering basically, like a Christmas fair thing, and you go there and you're there on a stand and you're selling some stuff, right? Like not a proper job, temporary little job. You need to file a shitload of paperwork for that. Not even to mention when you're trying to move into an apartment, it's wild. They're wild people. I got a phone number in Germany, ridiculous. Like they just love paperwork. They just fucking love like paperwork. When Germans are trying to go have sex, they probably like Google accounting videos online to get horny for it. Weird little nation. They can protest, but only in their homes. Yeah. You only need like around 30 to 50 papers for that. So that's, you know, very easy. To go outside, ooh, that's harsh. Back when Crimea invasion was done, Turkey said we should get Ukraine into NATO. And all of Europe said no. Oh yeah, Europeans betrayed Ukraine. That's a big salty point of me. A lot of the complaints of Europeans right now must be shut down with reminding them that we betrayed Ukraine. It was us who betrayed Ukraine. We did it, and we did it several times. We fucking betrayed them. Yeah, Merkel, it was the Frenchies too, it was the British, it was our countries, it was plenty of our countries. If you look at, like, I looked into just Croatia-Russia relations, and bro, we were fucking traitors. We were fucking traitors. Still taking pictures with Putin everywhere around, even while he was actively invading. We were traitors. So I absolutely believe that us now helping Ukraine, not only should we feel indebted to them, and not only should we be pushing for more help, we shouldn't expect praise for this. We created this situation in the first place. Bureaucracy is good. Fuck, I need to find that one. I'm kind of interested now. I'm not sure I know which one it is. I also didn't click on links, so I'm gonna go through the links now. I'm gonna go through to see what was sent. And the first one I see is TikTok. The first one up there is TikTok.
Muistona Karjalamaa, mutta vieläkin syömässä soinahtaa. Kun soittajan sormista kuulla saa. Säkkijärven polkkaa. Se polkka taas menneitä mieleen tuo, ja se outoa kaiputa rintaa luo. Ei soittaja haitarin soida suo. Säkkijärven polkkaa.
That is fair. Okay, that was a good one. Proper TikTok almost makes me think TikTok should be allowed to be existing. Alcoholic drink? It's I guess actually. That'd be fucking great though. Big chat is big. Yeah, I made a huge chat thingy. Well, let me see how huge it is here. I made a huge chat thingy because I don't like the idea of keeping him open all the time in another browser. It slows everything down. Wait, shut the fuck up. Look at him here. He's big. Not that big, but still big. Still not tiny. Still not tiny. Russian participant of the special military operation. Was not allowed to enter Kazakhstan because he had a Z sticker on his car. Fucking deserved. Fucking deserved. Banned from clipping. Clipping gets you automatically top sent from the world. Wait, shut the fuck up. Okay.
Всем доброго, удачного дня.
I will.
Хочу обратиться ко всем россиянам. Я сам участник СВО, неоднократно был с 2014 года, по этот год воевал, неоднократно был ранен. Сегодня хотел проехать в Казахстан. У меня на машине, на заднем плане, видите, да? Сейчас покажу. Вон, наклейка есть. Z, поддержим нашу. Когда я приехал на границу Казахстана, меня не пускают туда. Заставляют стирать эту наклейку. Говорят, что у них эти наклейки запрещены. Понятия не могу, к чему мы пришли, к чему мы приехали. Стирать я ее не стал. Я просто развернулся и уехал назад. Что получается? Наша Россия нас везде гнобят, а мы смотрим всем в задницу и молчим. Давайте, блин, все вместе встанем. Казахстанская машина, которая заходит, блядь, в Россию, должна, сука, наклеить эту буковку Z, блядь, или O, блядь, или V. В поддержании. Нет, пускай, блядь, ездит по своему Казахстану, а здесь передвигаются на такси, блядь. Почему нас должны гнобить, блядь, а мы должны сидеть и смотреть на это все, блядь? И мне это было, блядь, сказано со стороны угрозы, блядь, что если ты сейчас попытаешься проехать, блядь, там тебя арестуем, машину, блядь, заберем, блядь, а тебя выдворим, блядь. Я им еще не сказал, что я, блядь, участник СВО. Если бы я сказал, что я участник СВО, мне, наверное, и руки ласты скрутили, блядь, увезли бы, продали бы, блядь, Украине. Что происходит, мужики, что происходит? Нас со всех сторон долбят.
We're being pushed from all sides, he goes. What a little coward. What a little fucking coward. But like, you know, in relation to the previous conversation we had, this does make me kind of feel sad, you know? When we say it's like 1-to-1 casualty rates, it's like one Ukrainian lost for one of these. My dude. My dude. Ooh. Wait, this is true. I saw it was build and I was like, build? No chance. But it's fucking true. Man. A secret reveals UN offered Russia major sanction relief if they return to the grain deal. They can't even do this. Well, I truly, I thought it was, for those who didn't want to believe the story because it was built, me, UN confirmed it. How are they this fucking stupid? Who gave them the right? Who gave them the right? Good, bro. He described the problems faced by the UN in helping Russia overcome obstacles to its exports. Brother. Maybe in 2023, if you figure out you're on the side helping Russia, maybe you should take a step back? But dude, oh, bro. Oh, we are facing difficulties trying to help Russia to overcome obstacles to its exports. The obstacle in a way being plenty countries oppose Russia's unjustified invasion and attempted genocide of Ukrainians. Oh, damn, what an obstacle. How should we fix this? No one gave them the power. That's the worst thing. No one gave them the power. They can't do this. They can't remove. What's the word? The sanctions. This is not their thing. This is not on them. Like, facilitate Russian ship access to European Union ports. You can't do that. Unfreeze frozen assets. You can't do that. Ensure Russian ships against Ukrainian attacks. Who the fuck gives you any of these rights? I remember another one of these was connecting Russian banks to SWIFT or something. But like, who gave you the right to do this? No one gave you the right to do this. You can't do that. No. They'll do the grain deal anyway, because they can't protect the trade ships against Turkey in the Black Sea. Man, I wish Russia would get a little bit shaken up on that front. It would be kind of fun to see. Just, who gave them the fucking right? I'm just so angry over this. Imagine even offering this. You know how stupid it is to offer this, dude? You know how stupid it is to even, like, even if it doesn't happen, even if nothing of this happens, the offer being made is inexcusable. You don't offer shit to a country supporter of genocide. You don't fucking offer them shit. Pro-Russian with Russian propaganda got locked down in Estonia. Police officers noticed a car with a Georgian ribbon on the interior mirror. The man did not respond to the request to remove it, resisted, and tried to escape. He was arrested and taken to the police station in cages. Fucking based. Fucking based. People mocking the video quality. Fucking based. Arrest all of them. It should be treated the same way as swastika is treated. Reminds me of that one German dude who got what's the word? Who got a whole fine for this. Like, they took away, I don't even know how many daily wages from him because he was drawing swastikas around. They should do the same fucking exact thing to everyone with any sort of a pro-Russian symbol. Fuck it. What is this? I keep on scrolling up and down. What? Who is Georgian? Simp-Ruski? If found guilty of treason, Peterson and Ruzzi could be sentenced to between 6 and 20 years or even life in prison. Man. Instructions from the Russian Federation. They assisted Russia and persons acting on behalf of the Russian authorities in non-violent activities directed against the independence, sovereignty and territorial integrity of the Republic of Estonia. Nice. Nice. This is what all of them should be doing, okay? We should do this to every single one of them. Did the stream go down for a second? Okay, it's back, it's back, it's back. Stream went down for a second, I don't know why. Something happened, I guess. But all of them must be put on trial as traitors of the state, every single one of them. By the way, Elon fucking Musk included. I don't know how much you've been following the thing with him and his admitting the fact that he has basically stopped the possibility of a Ukrainian offensive happening. I don't know how much you followed the situation with that, but that is absolutely betraying the state. Why is it at 0? Holy shit. Okay. Yeah, OBS, he keeps on going up and then down for some reason. Oh, he's GG now. He's GG now. As soon as you talk about Elon. Do you think he knows? Do you think he knows? Do you think he's observing us? For 20 seconds. Nice. Okay, I was trying to look if it's gonna go down again, but it doesn't. It's staying. Okay, fair enough. But yeah, Elon Musk is a fucking traitor to his state, and I hope he ends up in prison too. Give him some years in prison. Give him, what was this one? Between 2 and 15 years? Bro. Give him more. Give him more. Holy shit. What do you mean the Elon thing is not true? He acknowledged it. The only question is whether he specifically turned off Starlink access that was existing before, or if he was asked to provide Starlink access to a new location and he refused. No, he was providing internet for the Ukrainian military at the time. He was. Starlink was a great asset to Ukrainian military. He knew about this. He was being paid to provide Starlink to Ukrainian military. And he betrayed them. He betrayed an ally to USA. He admitted to betraying an ally to USA because the mentioned ally was going to attack a Russian fleet, and Elon chose to stop this. He literally admitted to it. Again, the only question is whether the access was allowed previously and then he turned it off in area where it was allowed previously, or if Ukrainians did not have access to Starlink in this area previously and they asked Elon to turn it on. Regardless on which one it is, he refused to comply because he chose to save the Russian fleet. That is being a traitor to his state. There's like no question on this. Man must be investigated. Used to listen to Kino, Vaporwave channel. Yesterday he released the Don't Tell My Mom I'm in Ukraine song. Oh damn! Oh damn! Elon's from South Africa, not USA. Well, considering the fact USA has been funding him for quite a while, I would say that's his state. His company, his decision? Yeah, his decision to betray USA. No, it wasn't. No. The decision was not based on the danger of Ruskies shooting his stuff down. The decision was based on him not wanting Ukrainians to attack the Russian fleet. If he said it was a security concern for the terminals, it would be different. No, he specifically said he was aware that Starlink access will be used by Ukrainians to attack Russian fleet. He saw this as an escalation to the war. He didn't want to allow this. So he didn't give Starlink access in the area. Like, there's no question about this, my dude. There's no question about this. Him talking to Russians is not a good look. Definitely, absolutely a traitor to the state. Like, abso-fucking-lutely a traitor to the state. No conversation about this at all. No fucking conversation about this. Why would I read up on Pearl Harbor? No, whataboutism is a term. Whataboutism is a thing, and it is used quite often, actually. Kind of weird you're like trying to push back on that. I worry Russia could reverse engineer one of the drones that washed up on Crimea without exploding because of it. Oh, definitely. No, absolutely. Not even to mention how many attacks on Ukrainian cities have happened as a result of the Russian fleet being, left standing. Man's absolutely a traitor to his state and at the same time responsible for deaths of Ukrainians. Like, if he is not put on trial for this, I will be greatly fucking disappointed. The idea that you can get so fucking rich that you get to make decisions like these? Man literally put it on himself to decide which action is allowed in this war. That is ridiculous. For one man to pretend he has the right to tell Ukraine what its military is allowed and not allowed to do, and to allow it only to do actions which he personally approves, that is fucking ridiculous. Going down again, by the way. Went down to 323, 151. Okay, stream fixing again. I don't know why we keep on going down every once in a while. There has to be a reason for it, I just don't know it. I usually never worry to listen to any argument supporting the US in any occasion. Yeah, that's kind of stupid though, to be fair. That's kind of stupid. It's like... You know Sneako's arguments? I think it's the same way of stupidity like that. It's like, oh, I will just denounce this point of view because it comes from someone I dislike, or it concerns someone I dislike, so I will not engage critically with it at all. I will just choose to like go the other way. Fucking stupid. That's just absolutely dumb. You should be able to look into historical events on a case-by-case basis. Where was I on this, by the way? Bro cannot run Twitter, now he wants to run war strategy. My dude. I don't know. The fact he gave himself the right is so fucking ridiculous to me. Sneeko, he had a very, very great conversation with Destiny on being a sheep and what being a sheep means. I thought it was a great talk, to be honest, because the entire basis of the conversation was Sneeko being like, oh yeah, people who listen to the government are sheep. And Destiny goes like, oh, okay, so you don't listen to the government. And Sneak goes like, no, if government says something, I like automatically go against. If government says to vaccinate, I will not. If government says to wear a mask, I will not. Like, he has no other reason to follow that side. He just chooses not to do whatever the government tells him to do. And Destiny points out how that's just being a sheep of another herd. And I kind of just remember that conversation very, very strongly because it was the first time I've actually acknowledged that, yeah, it fucking is. If you create opinions on such a shallow fucking basis, that's what actually being a sheep is. You think you're being a free thinker, you think you're going against propaganda, but what you're doing is just being lazy as fuck. One historical event where the US was on the right side after World War II? Right now, my dude. Right now. Also, why the fuck would you cut it off at World War II? Like, you know they were correct in World War II? So you have to, what? Remove that one? Right now, they are absolutely on the right side, no question about it. Likes autonomy? Elon? Autonomy in this case is being a traitor to the state. He must end up in prison. When he did the Holocaust debate, bro, the fact he is allowed to do the Holocaust debate, my man. He said, I don't think they actually killed 5 million Jews. But then, when he was questioned, he pussied out and said something along the lines of, oh no, I'm not denying it, I'm just saying that it could be 4.8 million or something, just not exactly 5. What a piece of shit. What a piece of shit. Because, no, they don't seem like they help Ukraine in this case. They do help Ukraine in this case. USA actively is helping Ukraine in this case. No question about that either. You seem to be like bringing up some very weird ass points. USA is helping Ukraine right now. Ukraine is a victim of an unjustified genocidal invasion by the Russian state. The only correct position to take is to be supportive of Ukraine. That is what USA is doing. Yeah, so overall, Elon may suck a dick, my dude. Can't wait for him to end up in prison. But also talking about like Sneeko being a fucking pussy, it reminds me, I've seen a clip of him. Have you seen the clip of him in that OnlyFans girl? Oh, here it is, I found it. How the Muslim grift is getting harder and harder. Sneeko on Fresh and Fit. OnlyFans girls are whores. Sneeko talking to an OnlyFans girl. I don't judge. No thoughts in that stupid ass head.
You could be one of them.
I could, well, I personally don't do that. I mean, I don't judge. I think everybody can do how. Maybe we can make our own porn privately, you know?
That's even better. Keep it just for us.
Just for us, and then we could play it on the TV in the house. And we'll pull down the windows. Nobody will see it. Just be me and you. You think we can do that, Emily?
That'd be special. Yeah, let's do that.
Okay. So what got you into porn?
Man, I wish USA was stronger on being on the right side in Kosovo, because they're kind of doing the pussy thing. They're doing a pussy thing. They're kind of doing the whole thing with like, oh guys, we need to have peace. Can both sides just agree to have peace? Like, my dude, one side here is being full of shit. You can't point out which one it is. You're allowed to point out which one it is. We all know which one it is. Come on. There's nothing you're gaining from pretending Serbia should have any sort of credibility ever. What was this? To the extent possible, make America the target of criticism. Play down the existence of Taiwan. Do not directly confront the idea of democracy. Frame the argument in terms of what kind of system can truly implement democracy. To the extent possible, choose various examples in Western countries of violence and unreasonable circumstances to explain how democracy is not well suited to capitalism. Use America's and other countries' interference in international affairs to explain how Western democracy is actually an invasion of other countries, and how the West is forcibly pushing on other countries' Western values. Use the bloody and tear-stained history of a once weak people, like China, to stir up pro-party and patriotic emotion. Increase the exposure that positive developments inside China receive. Further accommodate the work of maintaining social stability, my man. New Westerners, evil little Westerners. I was just looking into Internet Research Agency yesterday because I was fighting with someone. By the way, I have to show you my linkies, holy shit. I even, not only am I like pissed off with the idea of USA forcing their values on us, I'm pissed off at the idea of those values being inherently USA values. That's what pisses me off, and I got angry over this the first time when I was watching people in Iran comment on how angry they were being over this. Specifically the idea that people are protesting in Iran right now because USA brainwashed them to be protesting for Western values. Like, you're implying that democracy is only valued by USA, you are implying that non-European, or even like if you use it as West bad example, you're claiming that Easterners wouldn't want to be allowed to vote if the Westerners didn't brainwash them into wanting it. You're claiming that people in the East wouldn't be able to fight against their own oppression, or wouldn't even want to fight against their own oppression if the Westerners didn't manipulate them into that. It's such a dehumanizing, stupid-ass worldview of like, oh yeah, look at these people. They're raising up because one of them was executed. Basically fucking executed for doing something that wasn't even a goddamn crime. Wow, they're doing this because USA told them to do it. If USA wasn't in the game, they would absolutely be okay. They would absolutely be fucking fine. Government fucking kidnaps your women and beats them up if they don't carry up properly. They would be absolutely fine with these little primitives in the East. But then the Westerners came into the game and the Westerners were like, hey, maybe you should be against that. Huh. Brainwashing. Just pisses me off. Pisses me off, the idea of it. Well, McDonald's, bald eagle, shitting dollars, good stuff. Yeah, there's a whole timeline of the Internet Research Agency interference in the United States elections. Funniest thing I've learned yesterday. Funniest fucking thing I've learned yesterday. They made up a whole fake chemical plant fire in USA. Just made it the fuck up. And then they did another one about an Ebola outbreak in Atlanta. Just fucking made it all up. And just gonna stir the situation in USA, just gonna stir the shit around. My dude, my fucking man. One of these, I don't even know where it is, because I'm planning to do a nice little outline on this maybe one day. Yeah, but like they, for example here, they held 2 competing rallies. They fucking organized 2 different rallies. One of them was to stop Islamization of Texas. The other one was to save Islamic knowledge. And they made it for the same time and same location. Specifically to cause conflict. Specifically and only to see 2 people from the opposing sides clashing in USA. Supporting Russia in any sort of a way is being a traitor to USA inherently. There is no way around this. Making excuses to them, repeating their propaganda, it is being a traitor to USA. Just no way to argue against that shit. And in the same way, it's the same exact thing for plenty countries in the West. I would even say maybe all of them. Supporting Russia in any sort of a way is being a traitor to your state. Now, whether you're doing it in a way to make you, jail sentence deserving or not is a whole different thing. Maybe you're just being an idiot in your house. What do I do? No one can do anything about that. You should be allowed to be stupid. But you are being a traitor. Huh. But let me show you my linkies, okay? Because I have to show you my linkies. I had a bunch on European Union. Do we want to go into European Union? I kind of want to go into European Union. But I also had stuff about my little research thing. Look. Not this one. You. This one. I have the second week of digital technologies course starting. It actually, I think, started like 2 days ago, but I had no time at all to go look into it. But I do have a few linkies that I've saved, and we need to go to the linkies, okay? Because I wanted to show them previously several times, and we never fucking did it. but it's mostly about how digital technology is affecting this war right now. So one of these examples is how access to satellite images is shifting the view of the war, which is kinda... I don't know how to say it. Ironic, considering the fact that there is still a lot of people who believe there is no actual evidence of the war going on. But yeah. Rita Konaev, I found this to be cute. She says widespread access to satellite images has helped combat disinformation about the Ukraine conflict. Has it? Has it really? Has it really helped in any sort of a way, my woman? I don't know. But yeah, just being able to get closer to the whole situation and being able to actually speak to people on the ground definitely did have a huge impact on how people in other countries have been influencing and also looking at this war overall. So quite a good thing. Not really a groundbreaking article, still kind of cute. Thought this one was cute. Online sleuths using face recognition to ID Russian soldiers. Thought that one was based. So, for example, Kadyrov posted a short video on Telegram in which a cheery bearded soldier stood before a line of tanks clanking down a road under an overcast sky. And now in France, the CEO of a law enforcement and military training company called Tactical Systems took a screenshot of the soldier's face, and within about an hour, he identified the soldier. He learned who the soldier is. A fucking hour. Man, just having access to a computer and internet, you can basically be like an intelligence agency from a film. How cool is that? America plays a risky game by inviting anti-American people so long as they can bring in money. They can end up with a bunch of rich traders like Elon. The worst thing about Elon, though, is that Elon was supportive of Ukraine for a while. Elon was fully supportive of Ukraine for a while at the start. There's a question of whether Elon is simply stupid and he falls for everything very easily. So not at any point of his existence did he think about things he is saying. He was just like kind of following what his audience was thinking, right? It's either that or he is intentionally betraying USA. Like, genuinely, the only question right now about Elon is he stupid or is he evil? No option C. No alternatives to these. Needs to be thrown in lava in Minecraft? Sure. In Minecraft, of course, in Minecraft only. Had ride it Tesla once. It looks like a cool car. It does look like a cool car. Shame it's made by that little bitch boy. Wired used a free trial of a Russian service called Find Clone to trace a photo of a man that a Ukrainian government advisor claimed was a captured Russian soldier. It took less than 5 minutes to find a matching social media profile. The profile on the Russian social network VKontakte included the teenager's birthday and photos of his family. It listed his place of work as Polite People War. The Russian phrase polite people is used to refer to soldiers from Russia active in Ukraine during the 2014 annexation of Crimea. What? Really? What? Ukrainian open source intelligence, Inform Napalm, independently made the same connection in an earlier post, claiming to identify 2 of the claimed captives and confirmed in a message to Wired that it had relied in part on face recognition. Nice, they managed to find them. I was told they were terrorists. No, they were polite people. A apparently. Wait, what do you... Marsupilami, the fuck was that message? US could have prevented further harm to Ukraine if they had taken Ukraine seriously after the Crimean invasion and took them into NATO? My dude, USA doesn't have the power to take anyone into NATO. USA was supportive of Ukraine getting into NATO in 2008. Germany and France were against it, strongly against it. USA doesn't have the power to put anyone into NATO. That is just absolutely misunderstanding how NATO itself works. USA doesn't have the right to do this. Like, that is making no sense. Not even to mention that after the Crimean invasion, even more countries in NATO were pussies because they genuinely believe that a country which is having conflict within its borders should not be allowed to enter NATO itself. In 2008? Was it Bucharest? Bucharest summit? Which date? No, United States, Canada, Poland, Romania, Czechs and Baltics strongly supported Ukraine and Georgia becoming NATO Action Plan members. They were strongly opposed by Germany, France, Italy, Spain, Netherlands and Belgium. No, you are incorrect on USA being against it. Which, you know, just maybe proves that building your worldview around, oh, I don't listen to any arguments defending USA, maybe makes you believe in very stupid shit. Because so far you've said two very stupid things in chat about this. One of them being that USA can put anyone into NATO, the other one being that USA opposed Ukraine in NATO. Orban and Erdogan control who gets into NATO? I mean, partially. Partially, because they are being pieces of shit, so partially they can influence it very, very strongly because they are willing to blackmail countries. It sucks, but it's like with European Union. It's like with the European Union itself. You know? Like, Orban is having a... what's the word? Orban is having way too much ability to influence the decisions of European Union, and it creates situations in which the entirety of European Union agrees to something. Orban is the only one pushing back, and because Orban is the only one pushing back, nothing happens. Orban technically decides what European Union is allowed and isn't allowed to do. And yeah, in the same way, it is Hungary and Turkey deciding who does and doesn't get into NATO, because they are the ones who will be pushing out for their own stupid ass reasons. Check out this idiot. Ukraine is seen by Russia as part of its own historic and cultural domain, Dutch politician warned. Imagine saying that shit. The British judgment is that although there was full support for both Ukraine and Georgia, the question of when they joined should remain in the balance. Acceptable. More acceptable than the duchies. Fuck the duchies. Before or after MH17? This? Before. Before. 2008. When they could have saved Georgia and they chose not to save Georgia. Can you imagine being such a piece of shit? During dinner, Putin had a range of meetings with Bush, Merkel, UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon, and President of European Commission Barroso. Great. Fucking great. Russian President Putin was pleased about the alliance deciding not to invite Georgia and Ukraine to the membership action plan, at least for the time being. Cute. Cute. May I just point out something fun? 2nd to 4th of April 2008. Guess when they invaded Georgia? Starting on 7th August 2008. Waited a few fucking months to go into Georgia. It was NATO basically allowed it. Like the whole thing with pretending like we don't owe these countries help right now is ridiculous. We allowed this shit. Teutonic Empire. Oh, Orban? I don't even know how long Orban... How long is he allowed to stay? Holy shit. How long are you allowed to stay? Oh wait, when you say paragraph before, I'm not sure which one you mean. We have a little bit of a delay. Bulgarian pop song. Wait, which one? Do I know which one? What is the term limit? What is the term limit? No term limit. 4 years is the length of the term. There's no term limit. Ah, that one. Okay, makes sense. Bulgarian pop song. Armenia is doing something with USA, by the way. What are they doing? Like joint military exercise or something? Oh, Russians are bitching about it already. Russians are bitching about it already. In recent days, Armenia has taken a number of unfriendly steps, says a genocidal fucking state, including initiating the process of ratifying the Rome Statute. This is, by the way, this is so Putin can get arrested if he steps foot into Armenia. Humanitarian aid to Kyiv. Wow, unfriendly step. And you fucking admit it's humanitarian aid. At least they should have written military aid. As well as conducting military exercises on the territory of Armenia with the participation of USA. That I actually do. I'm fucking betrayed by this. They should have been conducting military exercises on the territory of Russia with the participation of USA, okay? Should have just gone in immediately. Invite USA in and just... That's the exercise. We see how far we can go. Armenia, Azerbaijan plus Turkey. Oh... I kind of wonder how this is going to be affecting Turkey. I wonder what Turkey is going to do about that. I do hope Armenia gets a base though. I know that, what was it about USA? USA base in Finland. What did I see about that? What did I see about that? Yeah, USA may be placing a military base in Finland. How cool would that be? Come on, come on, come on, come on. US training with Armenian military. I think that's what they meant by it. I think that's what they meant. At least like that's how I got it. As like Armenia. They said Armenia is now US base. I got it as like Armenia itself is a USA base right now because it's getting so close to USA. I don't know if I understood the comment wrongly though, now that I think about it. But I kinda, yeah. That's how I got it. Okay, I got it properly. I got it properly. I'm fucking based. I am based on everything I touch, okay? But by the way, talking about propaganda, there's this video that we planned to watch several times before, and we never fucking watched it. And I will force you to watch it now.
Unusual group of people gathered in the Kremlin. They were Russia's pro-war social media influencers, and President Vladimir Putin wanted to see them. They were allowed to ask questions.
Как так получается, что у нас вражеские беспилотники долетают до Кремля?
But Putin also had a favor to ask.
Работа в информационном пространстве – это поле боя, очень важное поле боя. И здесь я очень рассчитываю на вашу помощь.
Who are these people, and why did Putin ask for help?
Ooh.
War influencers have been part of Russia's propaganda ecosystem for some time.
Wait, but could you sell it to Turkey as a NATO base? Do you think that could work? Like, oh, not gonna be a USA base in Armenia. It's gonna be a NATO base in Armenia because Armenia is going to become a non-member NATO ally. So maybe you could sell it to Turkey as like, hey, NATO is gonna have a base there, but like not necessarily just USA, NATO itself, but there's gonna be some USA people there. Major non-NATO ally. That one. Could you? I feel you could sell it to Turkey like that. I feel you could sell it to Turkey like that, and they would actually be supportive of it. Because I would assume they also are, you know, trying to stick to the winning side. So it could work. It could work.
After the invasion of Ukraine, their popularity skyrocketed, with some of their follower counts growing several times in a matter of weeks. While Putin relied heavily on television to spread propaganda to an older generation, influencers carved their way through Telegram, the most popular social media platform for young people in Russia, and one of the few platforms to survive a ban in the country since the start of the war. We reviewed hundreds of the influencers' videos and posts to understand how they became so powerful, and encourage young Russians to support the war that killed thousands and turned millions into refugees. Why are they so popular? A world away from the traditional propaganda and TV shows, they are bold, brash, and funny, and use hate speech to gain followers. They make the war relatable and binge-worthy, posting constant updates from the front line. In Russia, they're called Z-bloggers. Z is the symbol adopted by those who support the war. One of the most popular Z-bloggers is Simon Pegov, known as War Gonzo, with more than 1 million followers.
You guys remember the glorious few days when we thought he was gone?
Dolga Reva is another. She writes poetry about the war. One of her most popular efforts is called All Wagner Fighters Go to Heaven. They embed with the Russian army and have exclusive access to the front line. They tell the truth that the military wants to hide, which makes them a unique source of information.
They're gonna get barbecued like Prigozhin. What do you mean?
In Russia, military bloggers were furious. They accused the army of failing to hide its troops.
Russian war bloggers with hundreds of thousands of followers on social media have been publishing reports from Ukraine.
But the Z bloggers also spread disinformation to millions of Russians.
War
They shared
Gonzo.
this dashcam video
Like
with their
War
followers on
Denso.
Telegram. It's dated 24th of March, 2022.
Oh, by the way, now this video is also making me kind of angry. Well, I wanna see what he's gonna do until the end. But like he's doing the whole thing with like, oh, they are pointing out Russia's losses on the battlefield.
The war influencers said it was a perfect example of
It's
how
not like this
Ukraine
made
treats
any sort of a
civilians.
difference.
It apparently shows a civilian vehicle.
Shit,
being
remember
cut
this
off
one.
by Ukrainian military SUV on a country road.
Like it's not like
Two
this made
gunmen
any sort
in
of a
Ukrainian
difference in the
uniform
way
got out
Russians
of the
perceive
car.
the war.
One of them appears to question a woman who was in the car with a small child. They call her a pig for speaking Russian and fire the gun next to the car. But look at these trees. We can see them on a satellite image. And these electricity towers. And
Man,
this
how
intersection.
impressive was this shit?
This footage can be geolocated to the Hernik district of Makivka, the suburb of Donetsk. It's in the Donbas region, an area of Ukraine occupied by
Ripped out
Russia
the
since
Quran.
2014. It is impossible for the uniformed Ukrainian soldiers to
No
operate
chance.
openly in this occupied region. Also, the use of dashcams is illegal in Ukraine. It was banned after the Russian invasion to keep the troop movement secret. The cross on the vehicle is different from the one used by Ukraine's armed forces.
I followed GeoConfirmed at the time, and they posted a geolocation.
The video was staged.
I don't know who was the first one to
many fakes spread by Z
make it.
Among those who shared this false video was Alexander Kotz. With
wait, Solo, wait. Expelling almost all of Croatia's Serbian population? That's an idiot take. Holy shit, where did you read that? No, my man, what? Where did you read that? Where did you get that idea from? What the fuck? No. No, Storm was done specifically on the territory of Krajina. Storm was specifically only on like one territory of Krajina, not the entirety of Krajina itself, because the Krajina part where I live right now, that was given back to Croatia through peaceful reintegration. So Storm didn't happen here. Storm only happened on the other part. But like, bro, Storm didn't. Do you think Storm went through the entirety of Croatia? What the fuck are you talking about? That is not what happened. How big do you think Operation Storm was? How big of a territory do you think it covered? Or like, do you think almost all of Serbia's, almost all Serbs in Croatia were in the territory of Krajina? Specifically that territory of Krajina, not the other territories of Krajina, but like this territory of Krajina. But that makes no sense. Serbians are just Balkans with a lot of bureaucracy. Bureaucracy in Serbia? Ma, dude. If there's anything I know about Serbia. Dude, for a while. Okay, they changed recently. Serbia is getting a lot better than what they used to be, because for a while they were pretending to want to get into European Union. But for a while you could go into Serbia and you could go into their pharmacies and you could get whatever you wanted from their pharmacies with no receipt needed from your doctor. Like, nothing needed, you would just pay. Whatever medication was not allowed usually to be gotten into pharmacies without a receipt, in Serbia you could get it. And then, you know, they did the whole thing with like attempting to get into European Union, so they turned it off. I was actually very, very surprised. I went to ask at one point. My grandmother takes a shitload of Xanax. Shitload of Xanax. She's on, I don't even know why, on so many fucking meds, but she goes to the psychiatrist relatively regularly. Not my real grandmother, by the way, my kind of grandmother, but still, okay. It counts. She takes shitload of Xanax. And her doctor was like, hey, you can't be taking more. And she was like, no, I wanna. Because like she feels like she needs it. It's some sort of addiction at this point, my man. It's very, very weird. But at one point she got us to ask in Serbia how much it costs. And that was very, very recently. And I went into Serbia and I asked how much it costs. And the woman in the pharmacy told me the price. And then she told me that I must have a doctor's receipt to be allowed to get it. And I was like, wow. Wow. Nice. Holy shit. That is not a response you would have ever gotten previously. Dude, we have a pharmacy like right across the border. You cross over the border and there's like a 5-minute drive to the pharmacy or something, right? People used to be going there regularly. We had a whole thing with like teenagers on this part of the village being drug users, because they would go to Serbia, get a shitload of meds, and then they would mix them up with their drinks. So Serbia's getting better recently. Serbia's getting a lot better. Their regulations are fucking amazing, okay? Now it's too bad because they still like eating shit with the whole thing of Serbian nationalism, Serbian imperialism, Serbian irredentism. Talking about Kosovo still being a part of Serbia, the whole thing with like wanting to go the side of Russia, but also not quite having enough balls to go side of Russia. It kind of sucks. It's like with Hungarians, you know, how Hungarians are constantly bitching about not wanting to be part of European Union. I actually just want to join Russia. And everyone else is like, please do that. Please do that. Please just leave European Union. Go join BRICS, please. I beg you, do that already. And they don't want to. Serbia is very much the same way. They keep on being like, we don't want to get into European Union anyways. We actually just want to be a part of BRICS. Okay. Please go there. Please go be a part of BRICS. Go and join them. I'm fucking begging. Took Xanax to pass my driving exam? Holy shit. I've never taken it. I've never. But I've heard that like it's good for calming down. So I guess taking Xanax to pass your driving exam might be quite similar to what one of my relatives did when passing the driving exam, which was drinking a bit of alcohol to calm herself down. I guess it was like that, right? We had one of each Balkan country. A Serb, a Croat, a Bosnian, a Kosovian, and an Albanian walk into a German school and they become friends. Oh, the parents didn't. Ah, shit. It's like here growing up after the war. So when I started going to school, you know, I remember I came home from the first day of school and my parents were like, "Oh, how was your first day?" And I was like, "Oh, it was great." And they were like, "Who are the kids in the class?" And I, you know, told them a few names and they were like, "Oh shit, they're back." And that is how I learned that some of my classmates were very, very connected to Serbs who were plundering the area during the war. Yeah. Hungarians are still riding on the imperialism of Great Hungarian Kingdom. Yeah, that's true. It's very, very similar to like Serbs still believing that they could be a great country if only they didn't lose Kosovo, and if only they didn't lose Montenegro, and if only they didn't lose all of the republics that Yugoslavia had. They would have been such a great, great, strong, big country. But then all of these pesky little nations under their boot, they decided to seek independence, and this made Serbia weak. So now it hates all of them, and it wants to conquer their territory to make Serbia great again. Instead of, you know, just like fucking making Serbia great again in the borders that it has. And maybe other countries would be more willing to work with you then if you know, actually made yourself into a country someone wants to be connected with. Just maybe. It's a German school, who else would I hang out with? That's also a good question. If you want to hang out with a German kid, I hear you have to file out paperwork first. So,
100,000 followers
fair.
on his Telegram channel, he is one of the most popular war influencers.
Kutz.
In a rare interview with Western media, Kotz told the BBC how he makes the war seem close to home to his followers.
War influencer, he goes.
Ты все равно никогда не передашь атмосферу войны, но попытаться сделать это через обычных людей, таких же, как в, не знаю, в Рязани, в Москве, в Владивостоке или в Новосибирске, это можно сделать.
But for his talk of ordinary people, he also has friends in high places.
Очень часто прислушивается Министерство обороны, есть прямой канал связи с ними, и когда там надо передать какую-то информацию, которую можно не публичить, а решить это все кулуарно, я это делаю. Не сказать, что у нас такие дружеские братские отношения, но взаимовыгодное сотрудничество с Министерством обороны у нас однозначно есть, и они не всегда, но...
Yeah, but the kids are stupid.
Z-bloggers are often invited to clubs, colleges, museums, libraries and bookshops across Russia. Young people from Moscow to Vladivostok show up to see them. We found evidence of dozens of these talks given since the war started. Some fans buy t-shirts with logos of the channels. Others say they've enlisted in the army because of the bloggers' posts. This man says he did so after he watched a lot of reports by Simon Pegov, aka War Gonzo. Despite international condemnation of Russian aggression, Pegov and others like him believe the government is not being violent enough. Criticism of government tactics is punished very swiftly in Russia, but the Z-bloggers seem to get away with it. They say the generals are corrupt and incompetent, and their strategy is timid and outdated. They also publish complaints from the mobilized, who feel betrayed by the officers.
Наш батальон был частично разбит в новогоднюю ночь в городе Макеевка в здании ПТУ номер 19. Просим отреагировать на...
We asked for it to be fully destroyed,
Hundreds of people have been prosecuted for discrediting the army in Russia. But for war influencers, the rules are different. Yekaterina Shulman, a leading Russian political scientist, told the BBC they receive special treatment.
The only dissenting voices which are allowed, or at least unpunished, are the pro-war voices. So you cannot criticize the president or the military for waging the war or for killing people per se. But you can criticize them for not killing enough people and not waging the war in an effective manner.
To pay for their more brutal war, bloggers ask for funds from their fans in Telegram posts. They say it's to deliver better equipment to the army, and they appear to be succeeding. Alexander Kotz claimed he raised more than £250,000 for an artillery unit. But it's not all totally altruistic. They also make a tidy profit for themselves. Bloggers sell ads for anything from cryptocurrency to fashion to their large audiences. To find out how much they earn, we posed as hotel owners interested in posting ads on major war influencer Telegram channels. We were told it would cost us from £443 to over £1,500 for a single post. Top Z bloggers post at least one ad per day, making their possible income much higher than the country's average monthly wage of £550.
Some of them are in the pay of the Ministry of Defense, some were, and I suppose continue to be, in the pay of Wagner Group.
Putin's endorsement and the Z bloggers' access to Russia's youth means politicians are keen to appear as guests on their Telegram channels, hoping to bolster their recognition with a younger crowd. Look at these clips.
When I was a wee
MPs
sprout.
dancing with artillery shells and playing ping pong with the bloggers. Their efforts and loyalty have been rewarded by Putin, who gave them medals and official positions.
When the breakup in the war started, they were shocked.
This is Vladlen Tatarsky.
They cried openly, didn't want to believe the war crimes committed. Croatians, Yugoslavians asked their Bosnian friends for forgiveness after Havel butchering elderly and children. That one man, I absolutely, how to say it, I'm glad they felt responsible. Makes me glad to hear they weren't denying it, because what Croatia did in that case was fucking inexcusable. We just did a full turn. We went from supporting the independence of Bosnia to trying to take a chunk of it. That was inexcusable, abso-fucking-lutely. So, you know, it makes me happy. It makes me kind of happy to hear that they acknowledged it. I think apologizing for it was a good choice on that. We were traitors to Bosnia at the time. We fought on the side of Bosnia for a while. We fought on their side, and then we just did a whole fucking turn and started claiming their lands as ours. And even now, you still have people glorifying that part of Croatian history. You still have people denying the fact that we were aggressors on Bosnia, that Bosnia was a victim of our attempt at annexing their territory. It's just, I'm happy to hear they weren't denying it at the time, you know, as much as they do deny it today, and it sucks to see that they deny it today. It's great that they weren't denying it at the time. 550 a month? That's almost like quite a lot. Why the French police are brutal? Hey, fuck, I still haven't seen the full of it. It's really good? Now I kinda wanna watch it on stream. Now kinda wanna watch it here, so I would actually be forced to watch it in full. Because I stopped watching, I forgot to watch until the end. I got the notification, I think, for this shit. And then I switched to that. I'm very, very bad at watching videos in my own time. We consider Tuzman to be quite a bastard too. Yeah, that's fair. He deserved it. When it comes to Croatians today, the feelings are also very, very mixed. But I do think he played a huge part in what we did to Bosnia. He was a traitor. He was a traitor. Yeah, wasn't as bad as Milosevic was, sure. But he betrayed our allies, and there's also very, very strong opinions that he betrayed Croatia itself. I know when our what's the word? Airport was supposed to be named after him, lots of Croats were pissed off about it because they saw him as traitor to the Croatian state. So very mixed opinions in the country, and very mixed opinions for a very, very good reason. I think it was fully deserved. But by the way, I want to show you Arthur going through the news in the situation, and then I have a bunch of European Union stuff that I need to be showing to you, okay? But also you gotta watch Arthur, because Arthur is the best update dude on this existing.
Story takes us to St. Petersburg, where a Russian terminator.
Oh, St. Petersburg.
Woman, unstoppable force meets an unmovable object. I'm sure you have heard about this analogy. This woman has decided, with her unstoppable force, to burn down the Russian military enlistment office in St. Petersburg. She, I guess, covers the door with gasoline and sets it on fire, or some kind of gasoline oil mixture, because it burns really slowly and it really doesn't seem to work. It doesn't seem to catch on. And then she just stands back and films it. It's like, look what I did. I'm helping. Then she thinks she's not helping enough and she picks up the stones and starts throwing them in the window. If I cannot burn down the door, I'm gonna break the windows, because that will show him. Got him.
Got him. Got him.
They cannot enlist any Russian young men into this horrible war when they have a draft through the hole I'm punching. I am making jokes, but actually, this is the right attitude to have towards the Russian enlistment officers. Burn them to the ground, take matters into your own hands. This woman is setting an example.
Hey, okay, breaking the window and setting the inside, that's a step further. Requires a bit more of planning.
And she will get a paragraph, knowing it's Russia, she will get for betrayal or espionage or 30 years of gulag or something. Unfortunately, these videos are rare in the recent days of burning down these Russian enlistment offices. I wish I could see them more. But the closer we get to the real Russian mobilization, the more these videos are going to come to surface. All right, my friends, don't get bothered by the map. It's very colorful, but let's go to the second one on the left bank of Dnieper. Here, two FSB officers, which you can see from this video, were driving this car, and then the Ukrainian incredibly effective partisan movement kicked in like that, and the car exploded. Budanov, you know, the head of the Ukrainian intelligence, he recently got promoted. He got a rank up. He was like, whoa, 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 and a car exploded. He has incredibly strong mind force to affect the partisan movement in a certain area.
True. The Russians burned down Kremlin.
In Ukraine, there is a very strong network of Ukrainian partisans working behind enemy lines to
sabotage
sabotage
the tactic on yourselves.
FSB officer cars, poison commanders, feed them wrong information, give away Russian anti-air defense system locations, all of that stuff, which seriously undermines the Russian occupation efforts. Now, these two FSB officers in Oleshki, in that car that was blown up, one of them was liquidated, sent to sleep with the fishes on scene, and the other one was transported to the hospital. But this shows that high-ranking officers in the Russian command structure are not safe anywhere in the southern occupied Ukraine, since the partisan movement is very active. This feeds fear into the mindset, and with fear, people do stupid stuff. They don't think clearly. That is the goal of Ukrainian intelligence. Fear. Russians will never feel safe in Crimea and southern occupied Ukraine. Now, my friend, before we go on, I want to lighten up your mood, because it's Friday and it's 5 days of crazy military blog stuff. So let's take this Russian tank and I'm going to explain how it works. What's the difference between the Western tanks? This is a regular Russian T-80. They stack their ammunition right this. It's not a joke. It's really how they stack their ammunition. Inside the turret, just around the gunner, the main gun sight, and below him in a circle like that. And this is to make sure when the tank hits a mine or gets hit by another tank, that the ejection system works properly. See, Russian tanks have this safety feature that the Western tanks don't. When the tank is hit, all of the ammunition underneath and around the gunner ignites, exploding and ejecting him out, ejecting the turret to the moon, and the gunner out of the tank, so he would be safe and not damaged by the explosion. Unfortunately, the driver, yeah, he's gone, but it's Russia. The mothers will give birth to more meat, but the gunner is exploded to the moon, so where he can be safe. In Russia, human life is the most valued item, the most valued commodity, so they work hard to save it, to make it as safe as possible. This is why they put the ammunition just around the gunner, as close as possible, as tightly as possible. It's genius. The Western tanks don't have anything like it. When the Western tanks get hit, there is no ejection system, turret doesn't fly to the moon, and the crew just exits and exits the battlefield, and it's fine. It's boring and it doesn't work. The Russian tank is where it's at. My friends, the Gepard, how you call it? Gepard, the German anti-drone, anti-aircraft defense system, which has these twin barrels, automatic aiming system, and it shoots, calculating exactly where the drone will be by the time the bullet reaches the drone, and shoots a little bit before the drone, and it hits it precisely. I love the weapon. Looks cool, very precise, very effective, and kind of cheap. Taking down Iranian Shahed drones with Gepard munitions is a lot cheaper than using a very expensive smart missile against it. I love the style, I love the idea of the weapon. And here we can actually see how good it is. This Gepard system is going to shoot down 2 drones with 2 bursts in the span of about 10 seconds. Minimal usage of ammunition, maximum effect. Let's see it. First, okay, it missed. Boom, it hit. Hit with the second burst, 1 drone down. Shahed drones made in Iran. And now, another burst, another hit. Yeah, this is effectiveness captured in a video. You can see the barrel, where first of all, it just looks amazingly cool. I gotta give it that. I get riled up. It's like I'm like 12 again, watching Terminator, Arnold Schwarzenegger using a minigun in the third part, carrying a coffin, you know, like that. gives me those vibes. Immediately hits, doesn't use a lot of ammunition. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love the Sea-Whiz, you know, the little R2-D2 with the barrel that's like and hits everything. But this is a cheaper version of it, still as effective. Give more to Ukraine, please, and produce more ammunition. There's a huge issue with Gepard munitions because Germany is just unable to produce it fast enough. My friends, this is Yegor Kuzenko, the 13th. He's a Russian military blogger.
I would need to look into his FSB links.
His code is the 13th. He has a lot of followers, and this guy is very closely connected to several war crimes and several executions, actually, a very dark guy. Don't let yourself fooled by the smile. There's a huge darkness behind this smile, and he is, I mean, he was, or still is, a huge fan of Prigozhin. I guess Prigozhin was his idol, and the way he did things, this guy idolized it. After Prigozhin was sent to sleep with the fishes, we haven't heard much from this guy, and now people are posting, people close to him are posting that, pray for Kuzenko, he's struggling, like he's depressed or something. And I can understand it, I'm a military blogger, but it's so weird to see that people who commit war crimes and executions get depressed when their idol is sent to sleep with the fishes. It's just a weird thing to grasp for me. I do this, but I'm not committing war crimes. I will read what his admin of his channel wrote. Without further ado, let's keep our fingers crossed for Igor. We are temporarily unable to read
have
PMs.
reloaded personnel, they use a machine to do it. Oh, so you gotta
need to take care of yourself. Always first
make
of all,
it look
start with yourself,
make
and then everything
sort
else.
them
You know why
so
it's
the
weird,
machine
because
can
this
do it.
message is correct as a military blogger. It's very easy to forget yourself and like dig yourself
How was
into
it
these
yesterday?
horrible videos.
Actually,
We're
I
talking
didn't
about a guy
go.
who probably has committed executions. And these
We
guys
had
are
a
saying, like,
problem
okay, Igor needs to take care of himself.
with
Of course
the
he's pulled up
household,
his killing
and
people
I
in
didn't
Ukraine,
go,
and
so I
he's
was like
killing
chilling.
people, and he loves the way Prigozhin works. Prigozhin, the guy who ordered grenades to be thrown into civilian houses just to eliminate the people. I mean, I'm not sure this guy should take care of himself. Maybe I cannot say I'm hoping.
On zero chance Prigozhin might be alive. I am very doubtful of it, to be honest. I am very, very, very doubtful of it. I don't think he's alive.
So far, he has no energy. I pass on all the words of support. We still can't read the private messages. There are too many messages. He will be back better than he was, and very soon. I do hope that's not the case. I hope he will never be back. With Prigozhin, many war criminals, I hope will follow the same path.
Oh, then.
Friends, now
I was like, nah,
for
dumb
you.
to
We're
do a
gonna
stream
watch
now.
A pile of stones. That's it. Nothing else. I'm gonna say nothing else. Pile of stones for you, delivered
Doesn't make
today,
sense for
Friday.
Putin to kill Prigozhin.
What a beautiful pile of stones. Not
That
much
makes no
happening here.
fucking sense.
Just a pile of stones. Boring. Oh, no, it's a person. It's a sniper.
That makes
What
no
the
fucking
hell?
sense.
There's a weapon. It moves.
Putin doesn't lie.
I can
Putin
only
said he
imagine how
doesn't
heavy
forgive
this suit is.
betrayal.
Or
That's
these
fucking great, by the
stones,
way.
bricks are made of, you know, the foam, made to look extremely
Yeah, of
realistic.
course
They
it's
don't wear
foam.
much,
Did
but
you think
it
those
looks
were
like
actual
in a
bricks
militarized
after?
area.
The
I
fuck?
couldn't make up this is a person. The thing is, if people are saying, oh, with this you can get very close to an enemy infantry, yeah, you
Of
can,
course
but
it's
it's not
foam.
like in the movies where you can just
Arthur, my
ambush
dude.
huge formations of infantry. With
Arthur be here
doing
like,
a
wow,
sniper
look
like
at this
that,
man.
being operator behind enemy lines, doing missions like
Putting
that, you
bricks
always
all
need to have a
himself,
way
like
to do
actual
that.
fucking
'Cause if
bricks.
you shoot, you might take out 1, 2, 3, but there's 10 more. You need to be able to exit without the enemy seeing you. If it's like Hollywood movies, when you're just so close and bam, you take out the entire company, that's not the reality. The reality is you take out 1, 2, maybe 3, and then you exit. That gives chaos, fear, confusion to the enemy, and you are fine. You need to save your own life. Now, this suit
True.
doesn't like make anybody invincible, like the ghillie suits also. It's not like Call of Duty when you can just crawl underneath a guy and knife him. There needs to be an exit route, and there needs to be a way to do the mission when the operator is safe. The operator is not
Man,
gonna kill
Skara
you,
was going
because if he
downhill
is,
ever
it's
since a
pointless
year
mission.
ago.
Now, my friends, we go
He
to
started
Crimea,
claiming
we go to
Ukrainians
Sevastopol,
are selling
and I
the
wanna share
organs
this
of their own
because there's a young
children.
dude, 22 years old. His name is Gleb Malkov, and I want to
Man was
share
already
in
down.
this video how he shows his bravery and determination for Crimea.
He
in
just
Ukraine
tries to
movement.
get
You can
lower
flag off the
down
Russian
than
Federation
he was
because
before.
the Russian Federation attacked my country. What country? Ukraine. You're not in Ukraine. You're in Sevastopol. Sevastopol is Ukraine. Why do you
Nice.
think Sevastopol is Ukraine? Because it is. Because it was transferred to Ukraine in 1954 by Khrushchev, actually, I think. In 2014, there was a referendum. It was an illegal referendum. Do you now consider yourself to be a Ukrainian country? Yes, I am in Ukraine. So the guy in occupied Crimea is brave enough to say,
Huge
I'm in
balls.
Ukraine. The dude was detained, unfortunately. He will be prosecuted, and unfortunately, there are reports that these kind of people will be tortured and the family will be tortured. So it's incredibly sad knowing what they will do to the guy. But the bravery, just for this 40 seconds, the bravery this guy has, knowing what they will do to him, respect, my respect, definitely. And this is why I want to share these stories, because these 40 seconds, he just risked his entire life and his family's life, so it would be very unwise for me not to share it. The United States ambassador to Ukraine announced
Fair.
that the US will be sending Ukraine 190 MRAP vehicles. MRAP,
That's like an
mine-resistant
tens of
vehicle,
dollars to
incredibly
get
armored.
his
Officially, it's a
propaganda
light armored
through.
vehicle,
That's like
but
what?
It is designed against IEDs.
Almost a million
Especially
rubles
IEDs
at this
from the Iraq
point.
War were the ones that affected the production of this vehicle. It has a very strong bottom, so if the improvised explosive, which can be very powerful and explodes underneath. It's designed to save the lives of the crew. They can exit, they can get into another vehicle and carry on their assault. Also, the sides are armored at the top. It's also designed to withstand ambushes. It's designed to just save the lives of the crew. So 190 of those to Ukraine, very necessary. Thank you, USA. It's supposed to be part of the new aid package to Ukraine from the United States, which is 600 million USD. Let's look at the list of what Ukraine gets for it. And there's some very important things I want to elaborate on. Equipment to sustain and integrate Ukraine's anti-air defense systems, additional ammunition for HIMARS, 105mm artillery rounds, electronic warfare and counter-electronic warfare equipment, demolition munitions for obstacle clearing. Boom, here it is. One of the most important things, and it's too late to send those. These should have been sent on mass scale before June, before the counter-offensive started. Demolition munitions. They are also, the Russian call it Meteorit, the vehicle Ukraine captured in Izium, 12 of them. They shoot out this explosive wire of about 100 meters. They explode and they make about 20 to 30 meter gap of any minefield, which you can funnel your troops through. Ukraine has those vehicles, but mostly from captured Russia, not from the West. So these
Thank you, Russia,
I guess. This vehicle probably. But it's also other kind of munitions for clearing Dragon's Teeth and minefields. But I think this is too little too late. They should have been here in June on mass scale. Mine clearing equipment, another one. They don't elaborate what mine clearing equipment, but this should have been sent before and in much greater numbers. All right, my friends, Russian losses of the past 24 hours. 640 troops were sent to sleep with the fishes. 23 tanks, very high, above the 7-day average. There were some offensive operations, and also 23 armored personnel vehicles. 31 artillery systems, which I have already talked about so much, how most of them come from the south. Ukraine is hunting them, and it is about the counter-battery. Ukrainian artillery shoots to clear out Russian trenches. Russian counter-battery fire starts to shoot back, but they're not very accurate. Perhaps they score some hits. Then the Ukrainian counter-battery
Switzerland and Croatia also did it.
Working, and they're incredibly accurate.
But like it wasn't a lot. It wasn't
they
enough.
Destroy daily 31 Russian artillery pieces.
Wish we had more.
Russia has tons of stupid iron like D-30 howitzers. They have tens of thousands of them before the war started, so taking them all out with this tempo will take some time. 1 MLRS, 1 anti-aircraft warfare system, 29 UAVs, 47 vehicles and fuel tanks. Again, I talked a lot about the Russian logistical issues on the southern front. Vehicles, fuel tanks, most of the logistics, most of the supply chain is run by trucks in the southern front. And the trucks have ball tires. That's a huge issue. The pattern, yes, something so simple as the tires, the pattern is worn out because they drive so much. And when it rains, sometimes it does. There's a lot of issues. The trucks will make accidents. They have to drive slowly. Kamikazes are hunting them.
Send drones.
One of the main targets.
To just like
$500 kamikaze drone, a small,
pour a shitload of oil
like
all over the
roads.
so the tracks slip.
The engine is screwed and the supplies won't hit the front, and the troops cannot fight properly. So this number is very important. I would say vehicles and fuel tanks and artillery systems are the main thing Ukraine is hunting in the southern front. One special equipment. Yesterday, my friends, the Prime Minister of Armenia announced that Azerbaijan is again massing their troops formations on the border of Nagorno-Karabakh. The latest war. I mean, these guys, Armenia and Azerbaijan, have had several wars, like 5 or 6
these guys.
wars on Nagorno-Karabakh. I made a separate video about it. The link is in the description below. Just search Armenia, Azerbaijan on my channel. Russia is supposed to be a peacekeeper in the region, but ever since the war started with Ukraine, their influence has really been diminished because they have had to pull out their forces and they have not been able to keep the peace. I mean, 2020 was the last war Armenia and Azerbaijan fought over, and it was the first war with Bayraktars, the Turkish drones, because Turkey supports Azerbaijan, and Azerbaijan got these new drones, and they were one of the first battle deployments of Bayraktars.
In the start of the war.
Thanks to these drones, they managed to take back a lot of territory, occupy a lot of territory from Nagorno-Karabakh, the disputed region. They destroyed a lot of Armenian positions thanks to Bayraktar. There's plenty of videos out there. And then the hostilities ended, but not the tensions. And now again, Azerbaijani convoys are moving to the front. Russia seems to be totally unable to keep the peace in the region.
Yeah, I forgot we had that.
The CSTO, Russian name NATO, is now rethinking strategy of relying on Russia for peace. Armenian Prime Minister
I have the dance in my head. At one point they hold the guns and they do that. That's cute.
Military exercise with the United States forces. And at the very same time, there's going to be a CSTO military exercise. So you could say that Armenia, part of the Russian NATO, will conduct a military exercise with both a NATO country and the Russian forces at the same time, which is weird.
No, fuck the Russians.
But they're a borderline country, borderline in a way that they can change alliances. Armenia is looking for a way out from Russian influence because Russian peacekeepers don't keep the peace. They're looking for the West. And if we say, oh, the coup in Niger, it was a global victory for Russia, in Africa, well, Armenia might be a global loss for Russia. They are looking for the West. They're gonna do the first ever military exercise with the United States.
Bro, being a shithole is a global loss for Russia.
Military activity in the region. Their military is a lot stronger than Armenia's military.
I'm gonna make it so you automatically get a strike if beer is mentioned in your
That's the only way
comment.
out. Russia completely has failed. CSTO, which Armenia is part of, is supposed to keep Armenian
Automatically,
peace and security.
without
It has
thinking,
completely
just like...
So that's a very short recap of the situation, but actually the full explainer video I've done on the situation, linked in the description below. Go and check that out. My friends, and for your Friday, to get your brain really mixed up, I will end with Vladimir Putin's delusions. Who doesn't want some of Putin's delusions sprinkled onto their Friday?
His head is very egg-shaped.
How crazy and delusional this man really is, and whew, it's hard to make this stuff up. I would even say this guy's even creative. You gotta create to make this nonsense up. Dear friends,
gotta create.
September 8th, 1943 is an important and significant date in the history of our country. On this day, 80 years ago, the legendary undefeated Donbass was liberated and cleared from the Nazi invaders. It was rich and generous land, the birthplace of Russia, the land of workers and warriors. The birthplace of Russia. I mean, are you now indicating that Russia still comes from Kiev?
You know what this reminds me of? You know what this reminds me of? How Serbs say that Kosovo is the heart of Serbia. There's something about these fuckers pretending that the lands that they want are the most important lands for the nation that ever will exist. Kinda stupid.
Ooh, this guy should make up his mind. But so far, so good. So far, I wouldn't comment on anything that you know,
Drafting a proposal to sell CV-90 IFVs to Armenia and train the guys to fight the Ottomans. Oh, holy shit.
One of the goals of the German attack on the Soviet Union was to seize it.
Oh, that would be great.
Did everything they could to preserve the Donetsk steppes and force people to work for the Third Reich's military machine. But on the occupied territories, they were met with fierce people's resistance. Its intensity
really
did
do
not
wonder
weaken
how
for less than
Turkey would
700
respond.
days. Seems very familiar with what the Russians are doing in southern Ukraine. I just reported of the FSB officers being exploded to bits. I mean, Putin is describing how the Germans failed kind of because the Russians fought back. Well, now the Russians will fail because the Ukrainians are fighting back. And I will quote Putin now, the people's resistance is there in the southern Ukraine. He's blind to see that he's stepping into the very same bucket. During the time that the cruel, cynical beast
They can't improve shit.
Hundreds of thousands
Because they
of
think
partisans.
the reason why they are so bad is because they don't have more territories.
Imagine a man just describing his actions.
It's
Just
a
like that.
stupid
I'm doing
little
this and
idea.
that. Let's watch it in that context. Subordinate civilians and children were killed and powerful enemy fortifications grew on the key lines exactly like in southern occupied Ukraine. Russians' fortifications have grown. Ukrainian partisans are fighting. There is a very strong partisan movement, people's resistance movement for Russian occupation. It's eerie how much this is Putin's own situation right now. The banks of the Don River were filled with pillboxes and ditches, as well as many kilometers of minefields, exactly the same as the Surovikin line. I can't. The similarities are endless here. It was unthinkably difficult
Maybe
to break
he's doing
such
it
a
on
line of
purpose.
defense, but the Red Army soldiers carried out the task. It is very difficult to break the Surovikin line, but the Ukrainians did it. Boom. I'm sorry, I'm getting so like hyped on this. They performed feats beyond the reach of man's ability. They made a heroic and sacrificial effort to prevent the triumph of the Soviet troops on the Kursk Bulge. A special page of the difficult and self-proclaimed assault on the Saur Mogila. Nazis turned this ancient kurgan into an impregnable fortress. There was no force in the world capable of stopping our soldiers. Strategic height was crossed hand in hand several times and was conquered by the Soviet soldiers. These who stood for the truth, for justice, for freedom and for the future of our motherland. I am sure that 9 years ago at these sacred borders for us, the example of the soldier of the Great Patriotic War led their descendants, the militiamen of Donbass. What militiamen? I have reported 1.5 years about how these Donbass mobiks, the militia of Luhansk and Donbass, they're like the worst. They don't train, they have no motivation. They're snatching men from shopping malls and from stores, just forcing them to go to the front with these Soviet helmets and Mosin rifles. That's the reality of Donbass militiamen, and Putin is glorifying that.
That's just
These are the
nostalgia for
worst soldiers
USSR.
Russia has right now. Militiamen from
They're doing it
Donbass.
on purpose.
I've shared so many videos about them. It's crazy how delusional this guy is, and for that matter, the entire Russian society. And with that note, I will send you to party. It's Friday. Go have fun, have a great weekend, but not before we're gonna put you some Patreon names. I bring you 5 new bedrooms with my Estonian pronunciation.
By the way, talking about having fun on Friday, I saw a video in my recommended yesterday and I saved it to watch it today. And it's this one, and it's on why smart kids are the loneliest. And I was like, damn. I guess people in my chat will not have anywhere to go for Friday. Maybe I could show them this video, so at least they can be reminded that they are smart. So yeah, and ironically that's why he's here. He sucks at history. My man, he sucks at everything. Birthplace of the Muscovite state was a Mongol slave village. Ooh. I hope it was in the bonds of today's Russia, because if it was outside, he's gonna try to go and get that one too. They didn't bother to equip their own people. Man, I'm fucking pissed off that he keeps on using the Red Army and thinking it means Russia. I'm pissed off by that so much. Like, why does it work? I realize I'm lonely and no, you're lonely and smart. You see, it says why smart kids are the loneliest. It doesn't say why stupid kids are the loneliest. Okay, it says smart kids. So by the virtue of you being lonely, that means you are actually smart. That makes a lot of sense, okay? Actually, I don't even know what he says. I don't know if it's a good argument or whatever. I didn't watch the video. I just saw it, went, ha, chat, saved it.
And one of the most important lessons I learned as a psychiatrist is that the solutions of today become the problems
Million
of
IQ.
tomorrow.
For every, listen, for every friend you have, your IQ is like 10 points lower. I don't make the rules. Okay? It is how it is.
And if you're a smart kid, you may sort of understand what I'm talking about, because as a smart kid, you faced certain problems when you were growing up. And since you're so smart, you came up with solutions that worked really well.
Which problems did you face?
You've come up with lots of successful solutions. Oftentimes, smart kids find themselves to be sort of stuck and incredibly lonely. So in order to understand this, we have to start by understanding how identity develops. So when we're young kids, let's say 5 years old,
I was given this IQ by God himself.
We tend to look at the world in a one-dimensional way. So if I'm a kid, like, I like trucks, and I like Spider-Man, or I like wrestling, or I like G.I. Joes or ninjas, we tend to be like pretty one-dimensional, right? I like ponies.
Wait, he's gonna bring out is that smart kids skip grades, so they're usually alienated due to age. This means they end up having lower social skills due to lack of opportunity to mingle with others. Oh. Well, I never skipped a grade, and I was very lonely. How would you explain that, smart boy? It's me smiling through the tears.
And so what happens when we're kind of one-dimensional kids is that we sort of develop these one-dimensional identities. So if you look at school, right, and if you think
You
back to your
did?
school
How was
days,
it? I didn't have a chance to. I didn't know skipping a grade was a real thing, and it wasn't a thing in Croatia until like very, very recently. For the longest time in my life, I thought it was just a USA thing. And then I learned that in plenty other countries, you actually have the ability to skip a grade. It's just that in like small village schools, no one actually gives you the ability to do that. Which, like, I don't even know how I feel about the fact I didn't skip a grade. I started a conversation with family on it later, and they were like, yeah, you like and your brother both. Like, there was a chance, but the system wasn't properly developed, and we didn't really want you to lose your peers. So we didn't think that the idea was good, right? But, I don't know, I think about it sometimes, you know? There's like these things that could have been changed in your history, and they would completely change the course of where you end up. So yeah. Cool little thing.
what were the different kids known for? There were some kids who were nerds, and some kids who were jocks, and some kids who were like the cool kids, some kids who were like the teacher's pets.
I
So if you
must
sort
have
of think
nerd.
about the sense of identity early on, the sense of identity is very, very one-dimensional. And so since it's one-dimensional, what tends to happen is some of us will adopt the mantle of being a smart kid, right? So our parents will tell us, hey, you're so smart. Our teachers will tell us, wow, you're so smart. The other kids
Could've
will push
started
you around
streaming
on the
a year
playground because,
earlier.
damn it, you're so smart. The
Fuck.
first thing that happens is we start to develop an identity as a smart kid. Parenting in the digital age is
If I skipped more grades, I could have started before Pokimane did.
even more of their kids
And then I would have been
develop healthy
rich.
relationships with technology. At Healthy Gamer,
She
we
had
believe
no
that there are 3
competition,
steps
basically.
that will help solve this problem. The first is you as a parent need to understand how technology is affecting your child's brain and psychology. Because it's really
Ooh.
clear that it's doing something, but we're not really taught what it's doing to our kids. The second is learning how to communicate with your children. Because even though you're saying all the right stuff, it's not really sinking in. And the third is how to actually successfully set limits and set healthy boundaries. Because our experience is that a lot of parents are trying really hard, but things are moving in the wrong direction. So
Man, I didn't even half-ass it. Like, my brother was a smart kid who was lazy, and he half-assed his way through school. I was the kid who was fucking dumb on this. I studied like a madman. I studied like a fucking madman. I genuinely enjoyed it. It was so stupid. I remember writing exams in school, and you know when they had like text answers? So they would ask a question and you needed to respond in text. I was the stupid kid who would always be writing every single line that was provided and then adding more text, because I would, in my studying, I would know the context of every single bullshit. Like, I think about that sometimes and I'm like, bro, why did I wasted so much time on that. You have no idea. I genuinely didn't go out with friends because I would be inside the house studying. And it sounds... Every time I say it to people, they're like, wow, did your parents make you study? No. I loved fucking studying. And when internet came in and we got the internet and we were actually able to like Google shit, I studied even more. I would go to ridiculous lengths to just know so much shit. Why? Some smart people find ways to save effort. That's what generally called lazy, but it's just working more efficiently. Yeah, that too. My brother, for example, like it's very interesting. He needed to get an IQ test for his migraine issues, and it turned out that he has very fucking high IQ. And I remember at the time we were all like, how? He doesn't have good grades in school. He had like C's. He had C's. He didn't have good grades. He wasn't ever reading his assigned reading courses or whatever. He was doing nothing. How? So for a while we were like, there must have been a mistake. And he did another IQ test. I think it was 2 years later. Got the same score. Like, man's genuinely high IQ. 148. Man's 148. Like, proper IQ, not the online one. Proper IQ. I haven't had an IQ test. I want to, but like, I'm scared that I'm gonna get a low score and it's going to destroy my sense of self forever. Like, I'm hoping I get at least like middle. No, I went with him. We didn't trust him. I went with him. Like, genuinely, the second time he was taking the test, he was a minor both times when he was taking them. So first time my parents went with him. The second time I went with him because he was just straight out of high school, and he needed to go get his IQ test done, and someone from the family who is an adult needed to be there with him. So it was me the second time, and bro, man got the same fucking score. I was like, how? I don't know if he studied for it. I thought about it, but then I was like, bro, he never studied for shit. I don't know if he would feel like studying for it. Man was still lazy, you know? He like never studied. He was naturally though good at mathematics, and I've heard that helps a lot with your IQ score. Like, if you're just good at mathematics, you know how there's like people who get mathematics. There's people who like see something, some like class in mathematics or whatever, and they just get it better than some other people. I've heard that basically usually helps with getting a high score on an IQ test, because that's kind of what IQ measures. So I'm guessing it's because of that. He was really good at mathematics. He still works in he like went to study mechatronics, and he's like still really into technology and everything. He works in a related field, so he's really smart when it comes to all of that fancy ass shit. So I guess, you know, his drive towards these topics has made him a person able to solve an IQ test really well. Yeah, IQ, how was it? IQ doesn't like measure intelligence overall, it measures a specific type of intelligence, right? A girl in the locker next to mine asked what my scores were. She was in all AP classes and had over 4.0. She legitimately had a mental break when she realized my scores were higher, despite the fact I literally ended up dropping out. Holy shit. Holy shit. That's fucking ridiculous. But like also it would make me feel horrible, my dude. It would make me feel horrible. Okay, I would feel very, very bad about it too. I understand her. I understand her fully. I never had issues with that. I was studying like a madman and I always had the best scores when it comes to everything you could study. I think it's actually not really a good thing because I've never learned to be beaten in an educational environment. I don't think that's a good thing. Like I don't know how that affects your like formation later, right? But I was always finding it very interesting to study, so I never had to push myself to actually try. I just loved it. And I think there's like something that gets fucked up because I never had to push myself to achieve something. I just had fun and I achieved it. And never once did I get beaten. And I think there's a part of me that's fucked up because of that. The experience school is not challenging and thus boring. Maybe that's what happened with him. I don't know. Maybe that's what happened with my bro. Because he was really, really bad at certain parts of high school. And then he would get really, really good sometimes. And then he would get really, really bad again. But overall, like he passed all of his classes, he got his job, he has worked related jobs all the time and just keeps on like getting better and better and better. So I could see how school was like simply not challenging enough, especially when it comes to, you know, assigned reading and shit like that. 110? I'm like dead on average. Wait, isn't average 100 or am I like wrong? I'm no longer unique. Man, no, you are though. You are. Like, do you ever remember like the conversations we had on stream about how everyone around you is a fucking normie and you are the most based person existing on your college? You are the best. Even if you're like dead on average, you're using that 110 IQ much better than all of the other 110 IQ losers are using it. So you're actually based. My brother, oh, he could. I'm gonna invite him to stream to talk to him about electric cars. He hates electric cars. He is a hater to the core, my man. A fucking hater to the core. But he likes anime. So I guess it like evens it out. You know, it evens out the IQ score, doesn't it? It's like this man is super, super fucking intelligent, but like he loves watching One Piece. I think I mentioned him like on last stream we had, but when I saw that One Piece Netflix had really, really good reviews online, my first thought was I gotta ask my brother about this, because he's a One Piece nerd. He absolutely watched the show. So I called him and I'm like, hey bro, I'm seeing really, really good reviews on the One Piece Netflix. How do you feel about it? And he's like, no, it's okay. The actors could have been a bit better. There's some parts of the story that have been cut out, and I would like it if they were involved in more. But like overall, it's really, really good. And I'm like, you can finally watch it. I recommend reading it. I started reading it like 13 different times, and I always just forget about it. Electric cars. He has a thing. We're like having debates over shit all the time, but it's very interesting because he's actually able to reason. It's an interesting thing to finally talk to someone IRL who is able to fucking give reasoning for why they think some things. But his reasoning is mostly based on the fact that like you need to produce electricity for electric cars, and then in production of electricity you will still pollute the environment, right? Because we don't get electricity from clean sources, we get electricity from bullshit. Especially like he's in Germany right now, so the whole thing with shutting down nuclears really got him pissed off. He's very, very angry on that. But I see the argument, but also I disagree with it, because still the rate of pollution is still way lower. It's still way fucking lower, right? It's like when people talk about plastic straws being removed. Like I recently, for example, I saw it on Croatian Twitter actually. I saw people talking about how plastic straws got removed and they got replaced by paper straws, and they were all posting this one research on like how paper straws have more forever chemicals than plastic straws. But if you actually read the fucking research, it says that how was it? Paper straws have more types of forever chemicals than some plastic straws, but overall the amount of these chemicals is way lower and they are way better anyways. Right? If you read the fucking research, it tells you it's about the types of forever chemicals, but not about the actual amount of them in the straw. But people see there's more forever chemicals in paper straws than in plastic, and they think it's more like the amount of them, not the types of them, but the amount of them. And I see the conversation about like electric cars as like very connected to this. You know, it's like people think that electric cars are supposed to be zero pollution. So they think an argument against electric cars is to say that they are not zero pollution. But no, they are still way better than the alternative. They're not zero pollution, but they are way better than the fucking alternative, my dude. Like, To the point where I was not allowed to socialize during the week? What? I was a straight A student up until around 7th grade, and then I started rebelling and getting bad grades. Oh shit, I'm so sad. I'm so sad for you, my dude. After I emancipated from my mother, I caught myself again and went to law school. Now I work in finance. Hey! Congratulations, I hope you're happy. I hope you're happy. Holy shit. I'm so sorry to hear that. Holy crap, my dude. That sounds like it would suck. I was elected to lead, not to read. True. Paste. Plastic straws getting banned, sold 0.0 of ocean plastic. I do agree that they didn't do much. But listen, the way I see it, we didn't suffer by banning them. Like, even if it was a tiny fraction of a percentage, I'm still GG with it because I don't think we suffered in any way. And I'm okay with banning single-use plastic products. You know? It's like I'm not really... My main thing about like plastic straws thing is that I think people bitching about it are dramatic little losers. You lost nothing by not having access to plastic straws anymore. You lost nothing. Like genuinely, absolutely fucking nothing. Study about the overall impact if we replace all gasoline cars? Oh, I don't even know if that would exist. That would be... Oh, that would need to be huge. Maybe interesting to see it, but that would be huge. Asking fast food restaurants to ask if the customers wanted one at the register, drive-thru window. And now I'm like okay with them being banned. I'm fully okay with them being banned, truly. I'm also okay with plastic bags being banned. Those like single-use tiny ones. I'm okay with those being banned. I'm basically okay with all single-use plastic products being banned. Maybe even those who are not like solely single-use. Like those plastic little utensils and everything, I'm okay with having them replaced with bamboo ones. I think that's GG. I think we're losing nothing. I actually recycle. We have to recycle. European Union makes you recycle. Go European Union. We all got... We got trash cans. And you have them in like different colors. So you can separate your types of trash. And then also we got a compost thing that you put in your backyard. And then this is where you leave the, you know, compost shit. So I think European Union dealt with it very well. We didn't have to pay for any of these extra bins or the compost shit. We just got it delivered to us. In the village we also have like separate huge trash, what is it, containers, I don't know. And they are also, you know, so you can separate your trash. I think it's really good. I think it's really good. So yeah, we do separate mostly because we have to, but I think it's a good thing. Boxed wine not being in boxes anymore because of woke culture. Wait, you don't have boxed wine anymore? We have boxed wine. What's wrong with boxed wine? Why do you not have boxed wine? What was unwoke about boxed wine? Because we still got it. I wonder if it's gonna go down. I wonder if we're gonna lose it. Northrop Grumman, Hawkeye, tactical airborne early warning aircraft. Give it to Ukraine. Why? To give it to Ukraine. Give it to Ukraine. Give it to me. Hand it over, bitch. Give.
All are interested, please check out the link in the description.
I will not check out the link in the description. I want to know.
What we equate with smartness is really effortless success. And so when you take a child and you say, wow, you are really great at effortless success, when all...
By the way, look at this. From a doctor licensed in the US? Since when did YouTube do this? This is cool. Learn more about how experts define health sources. So like if the account owner is actually a doctor making related content, they let you know that this is an actual doctor. That was not a thing before, right? That's kind of cool. I kind of like that.
The other kids are sweating and trying hard, you waltz through here, and because you're so brilliant, it's easy for you. When everyone else needs to study for a test, you don't need to study for a test because you are so brilliant. And so this child starts to adopt this identity that intelligence means effortless success. And that results in a narrowing of possibilities and a narrowing of identity. So if the source of my identity, if I'm a smart kid, then I can't do anything that requires effort, right? Because if I do something that requires effort, that...
Wait. Analog paper or digital? Because on one side trees are being cut down for the creation of paper, but on the other side the creation of devices costs a lot more resources than paper and ink. Maybe it depends on how long you will be using the digital resource in question. Like, are you constantly replacing your devices, or do you use one device forever? Are you doing the Balkan thing, where you buy an electronic device and it only gets repaired or replaced once like literal smoke is getting out of it? Energy required? Ooh. How's energy made in your area? I think it could depend on where you are. It's like with USA electric cars, right? I did a Patreon on like electric cars, and one fun thing that they pointed out was that the impact of electric cars on the environment depends on where you are, because in certain USA states, for example, they are better at making energy, electrical energy from clean sources. So in these parts, you're actually great for driving an electric car because the energy is made with clean resources, right? But in some other parts of USA, it is not, and it uses like coal or whatever the fuck, and then you will be having a bit less of an impact on the environment. You will still be having a good impact. That's, I think, still important to point out. You will still be having a good impact on the environment, but a bit less good than if you were in a state getting energy from proper sources. Oh, hydroelectric? Oh, see, I guess that's good then, right? I think that's good. I think that's great. Then that means that it's good. Where did I have the writing on this? I need to send all of these to my brother, by the way. I'm doing more research for this fucking stream than I'm doing for my nerd-ass brother that I want to fight with. Where was the specific thing? Oh, see? If bolt is charged up on a coal-heavy grid, such as those currently found in the Midwest, it can be a bit worse for the climate than a modern hybrid car like Toyota Prius, which runs on gasoline but uses a battery to bolster its mileage. So come on. By the way, I have to run for a second We'll be playing you this video on smart people.
That makes me feel dumb. So if I do really
It does
well in
make me
school,
feel
then
dumb.
my teacher comes to me and says, hey, you're so good at math, you should compete on, for our school as sort of a mathlete. And then suddenly, like, that may sound like a good idea, right? Because I'm a smart kid and that's what smart kids do. But then suddenly if I start competing against other smart kids, I have to start putting forth effort. And if I start putting forth effort, I don't feel smart anymore. If I start competing in math competitions, no one calls me brilliant anymore. I can't waltz in and be at the top of my class. And so suddenly what happens is that becomes a threat to your sense of identity. And so what smart kids start to do is they stop doing things that require effort. And this is really when they get screwed, because that's a solution that works really well, impresses a ton of people when you're young. But as you start to grow older, you start to move away from other activities. So there's sort of a narrowing of your life, and this is what I've seen working with tons of smart kids, that you're not able to do things that other kids are able to do. Because that other kid actually doesn't have the burden of being smart, so they're sort of allowed to practice, do poorly, and then eventually get better. But as a smart kid, that's not an option for you. So as this narrowing of identity starts to happen, as you start to move away or retreat from things that are difficult and require effort, and the other problem with that is as you grow older, your raw intelligence can no longer like get you to the top of the class, right? Eventually you're going to be learning, pre-algebra and then algebra and then calculus and then like calculus 2 and then whatever advanced number theory crap. And then like eventually you've got to start working. But the problem as a smart kid is that the second you start working, you stop being smart. And this kind of becomes a vicious cycle because the less I start doing, the more I'm left with the identity of being a smart kid. Because now I'm not multidimensional. I'm not also a graceful dancer. I'm not also very charismatic, right? All I am is smart. And so as that becomes all I am, it becomes harder and harder to put myself in places that threatens that. So this results in a very, very sharp narrowing of hobbies, of exposures, and eventually leads to social isolation. Because let's think about it, right? So if I don't end up joining this team and I don't become a mathlete and I don't start doing sports, what I'm going to sort of be left with is like a lack of opportunity to like socially engage with kids. And this is where being smart also kind of sabotages kids. Because as I start to reduce my social activity, how do I solve that problem? I use it with my intelligence. So there are studies that show that kids who are pretty smart will start to develop something called cognitive empathy. And that may sound kind of weird because isn't empathy like emotional? Isn't the whole point of empathy that you can feel what someone else is feeling? But as you reduce your social activity and your social exposure, the empathic circuits of your brain start to shut off. They start to become rusty. And so what a smart kid does is they've got this one awesome tool in their tool belt, which is their intelligence. And so then they leverage their intelligence towards social interactions. So now social interactions become puzzles to be solved. I'm feeling lonely. How can I say the perfect thing? How can I run through 1,000 different scenarios to make sure that I get invited to this thing or that kids don't make fun of you? And so we start to really lean into this intelligence to start to manage social interactions. The problem is that that becomes very, very energy intensive. So you can run 1,000 different calculations, but at the end of the day, like if you're shutting off half of your brain that's used for social interactions, there's no way that your intelligence will be able to like fill in for other parts of your brain. The problem
I actually disagree with this. I actually disagree with this. I think it can like very easily fill it because I've been getting by, my dude. I've been alright at getting by. I think it works. I disagree with the man. I think it works, and I think it works perfectly fine. I think you can smart out your way out of weird social interactions. You're a girl, maybe that now that I think about it, and ironically maybe that I guess I would have an easier time just being in situations. Could be like when I think about it, I do think younger women especially are a bit more gently treated when it comes to social situations, and also it's very, very easy to just how do I say this? Push your way through them. Like you'll learn very easy. Don't want to say responses to situations very quickly. For a young woman, I assume it's very, very easy because in most situations, wherever it gets like awkward or difficult or whatever, you can just smile, and it kind of just. You get rid of about 20% of an issue if you just do that. About 20% of any issue at all times. But yeah, I still disagree with him, but I do acknowledge the added boost of being a woman. You sound like ChatGPT. People remember me for talking better than most people. But the energy expenditure makes it difficult to keep talking to people. Ah. Wait, I have a question. I'm trying to form it. Maybe because you're in a college environment, right? But like, what types of conversations are you having that they require so much energy? Because like, in my experience, the way I see interactions with people, it's like, it's boring. And it's easier to, you know, drink a beer and power through it. But most interactions with people are dialogue 3 options, and you reach the end relatively quickly, and then you just get out. And most of them don't really require too much thinking. Like there's a you know the whole thing about like speaking to old people. I like, for example, when I think about visiting old people in my family, I know exactly how the conversation is gonna go, right? You go into their house, you talk about the weather. Whatever the weather is outside, you talk about it for a little while. Then from weather, you go to how weather affects their health. Then how the weather affects the health of their neighbors. Then how is their relationship with the neighbors, or like relatives or whoever else they're having contact with lately, you know? And that is usually where most of these conversations will end. So it's like, it's a dialogue tree, and you know exactly where it's gonna go. And because you know exactly where it's gonna go, usually you don't need to think. You don't talk about their plans? No, actually, not at all. I should add that to like kind of push the conversation into something, you know, uncharted territory. No, I've never talked about their plants. Sometimes they're pets, but I'm a village person, and my elders are village elders, and they're not too good about treating their pets like beings who need love and nurture. Like, a lot of them are just horrible fucking pet owners. So I kind of avoided going that way in the conversation. I have a friend who's like me, but in a female form, and she has way more friends. Yeah, it's easy when you're a woman. Also, I think you also seem like a bit less threatening. Like, I've thought about it recently. I have a guy friend at work, and I made a joke at him at one point, and you know, he was all like, hee hee. But like, I was thinking about it, and I was like, bro, like, if a dude, like, if I walked into a retail, even if I'm a regular, if a dude working there made a joke like that to me, I feel like I would feel creeped out. Like, I feel like I wouldn't go there again. But you know, because I'm a woman, and because he is inherently seen as one with the power in the conversation, because he's the dude, me making those jokes is just not seen as possible harassment. It's just seen as hee hee hee. It's a weird thing. Like, you get a boost. You get a little boost because you're a woman. How are you? And I actually tell them how I am. Like, I frame it in like a poetic manner. Oh, nice! I break the dialogue tree so most people don't know what to say. Oh, no. Okay, then I see, actually, though. Then I see how you could be feeling weird, feeling very tired out by interactions. Because, like, you're actually having genuine conversations with people, right? The way I understood his speech was that he was going through, like, you calculate responses and then you just have them, right? Like with most friends, for example. Most times I speak to friends, I still do like the dialogue tree thing. With some of them, I don't. And it is true, it's more taxing in those conversations, but I very rarely have these types of talks. So if you have these types of talks more often, I see why you would be very, very exhausted by having them constantly. I see that. I see them as like a little treat, and you see them as like a constant effort. So yeah, I understand it. Maybe you need a dialogue tree option. What if he was creeped out though? I think I'm good at emotional intelligence. He also made some jokes about me possibly being single in a while, and then him contacting me. So I think there's a possibility that he was not, because he went on with it. But also I think I'm really, really good at emotional intelligence. I should be fucking doing like IRL streams talking to people just to read the fuck out of them. You say horrible? See, but like that's the difference. You say horrible. Cringe always responds truthfully. What I do is I say great. Every time, no matter how the situation is, you ask me how I am, I will say great, and then I will try to poke into like your feelings. I learned it like gives you some very interesting stories to follow if you poke into people. I like listening to people speak, but when it comes to me, and I think it's a part of the boost. Maybe this isn't like even just a woman thing, but like if you say great every single time, people respond to you much more positively. Maybe that's why like I find conversations a bit less taxing. I don't even try. I just adopt the most pleasant form because people respond to it well. They hand you over other stuff to talk about, so you don't have to be like the one making up questions and making up topics. They will hand them over because they feel like you're doing great and they feel happy around you, and because they feel a bit happier around you, they are the ones who are like feeding you information. They pause for a second, convince themselves they misheard me, and carry on with the NPC dialogue. I usually ignore when a streamer asks, how are you? Yeah, I guess it's hard in Twitch. Because like, if I go, hey, how are you doing? And then like you actually give a personal story, then we need to have a conversation about your personal story, right? If I want to remain on like a honest level of having a conversation, right? We need to have a proper talk, but then we would need to have a proper talk about everyone's personal story, and there is, first of all, unlimited time, which just reminded me I still haven't shown you this fucking video, nor the other videos I've saved, but also the issue of like needing to have personal conversations about every single chatter, which would mean quite a lot of time. So there's like, you ask people how they are in Twitch chat and you don't know what you hope the answer to be. If they say horrible, you have to ask why. If they say great, that's like the quickest answer where you can just be like, nice, cool. But then you mostly know they're not being honest. Kind of like IRL, all of it. I slept on the bus today. The bus conductor woke me up on my bus stop. I think humanity still exists. Nice. That is fucking... That's fucking beautiful. I see why they say you talk beautifully though, but that's, wow, nice. I'm thinking about how differently we perceive the world, because I feel I would still respond great to them, and I don't know if that means I would do lesser analysis of a situation like that. You're making me rethink my perception, because I'm thinking about whether a situation like that would make me, how to say it, notice it? Like, I wonder if I would be perceiving it as strongly. Now I'm going to be analyzing all situations through, like, how would Cringelord make up a song about this?
With being a smart kid is that actually worked for a while, right?
How would Cringelord make this sound?
You didn't need empathy for the first 13 years of your life because you could calculate social interactions. And so when everyone
What do you mean for the first 13 years of your life?
Intelligence
I'm
doesn't
way
solve
older
the whole
than that,
problem
bitch.
for them in terms of loneliness, they have to lean into things like empathy, and their empathic circuits start waking up in the brain. But for you, you are allowed to keep them dormant because your intelligence could do all of it. And what this ends up in is sort of social isolation, because cognitive empathy is not a sustainable way to maintain relationships. It becomes cognitively exhausting, right? So then you don't even have fun. It feels like social activity is a chore and is incredibly draining. And then half of y'all diagnose yourself.
I just figured I'm coming from a... You wrote antisocial, and I figured, like, I'm coming from a wrong perspective on this. He's doing the whole thing about, like, why you are lonely. I actually wonder if he's gonna go down the direction of that. What can we do about it? What can we do about the conclusion? I wonder which direction he's gonna go. Because, like... he says it's not enough to maintain a healthy relationship with people. And I disagree, because I do maintain very healthy relationships with people just based on that. Just based on, like, dialogue treeing my way through. But also... I don't really want to have way too many interactions with people. Like, I think my idea of like a healthy social life is having way less people around you than maybe actually is healthy. So maybe I have deluded myself into thinking I have a healthy social life. Wait, what is, by the way, antisocial? Like, genuinely antisocial? Because I remember, what's like asocial and what's antisocial? They're not the same, right? I'm lonely because I'm a misanthrope. You're lonely because you're an incel. We are not the same. Maybe I'm lonely because I'm a Twitch streamer. Okay, maybe society has kicked me out. You know how, like, those movies where in Sparta there's like a baby born and it's broken, so they just chunk it off a mountain? That's society with me after I start streaming on Twitch.
Introverts, because social activity is draining. Social activity isn't draining for introverts any more than it is draining for extroverts, which I know sounds really bizarre.
Man, shit, I thought I have an actual rebel in chat.
What's draining is your
cognitive
load, or things like social anxiety, because every minute that you are engaging people socially, your mind is actually running on overtime, so you run yourself ragged. So as your social skills start to atrophy, you start to feel lonely. And then what happens is your intelligence kind of comes in.
True, when I was a baby, I was kicked off the mountain.
And you start to develop something called defensive arrogance. And you'll notice this with smart kids on the internet. So, like, if you try to talk to anyone on the internet, there's 1,140 IQ people who are going absolutely nowhere in life, who learned quantum mechanics on their own and are like expert philosophers and know more about medicine than the experts and all this kind of
fucking
stuff.
mechanics.
And they're happy to engage with you with arguments on the internet, right? And so what this sort of starts to become is this defensive arrogance. So as you start to feel lonely, what do you have left? Oh, I'm a quiet genius. My intelligence is so great that I cannot interact with the normal humans. I have.
Wait, this is like those, those articles? How was it? That, like, people who have less friends are more intelligent than people who have more friends? I remember that was like one of my first actual fights with someone in high school over those articles, because the dude had those, had basically a list of those like little articles. And he was like, yeah, actually, like, this proves I'm smart. And I was like, no, like, you're just a loner. But you're trying to figure out why no one likes you. So you're using this as an excuse. But people just don't like you because you have shit personality. It's not because you're intelligent. It's because you're like a walking piece of shit. So I guess he's talking mostly about those. It's something you see very, very often, I think. I think I mostly experienced it unironically with, like, atheists. They have this whole thing with, like, having a bunch of articles which show that they are smarter than everyone else, and because they are smarter and because their way of thinking critically is a bit more developed, they find it hard to find their place in society, which I also think is absolutely bullshit.
Difficulty connecting with people because they're so dumb. So this is that defensive arrogance. And even if you're not that bad, you'll still sort of notice that there are times in your life where you kind of feel very, very reluctant to engage with other people. And so as you start to become more lonely, this defensive arrogance comes with a correlating low self-esteem. So anyone who's defensively arrogant really doesn't feel confident in themselves, right? And you may have sort of noticed that as you feel lonely, you start to have low self-esteem, but you've got one bright point left, which is your intelligence. Even though every other part of your life you may be lazy, you may be kind of socially isolated, you may be lonely, but at least you're smart. You got that left. And so then
religious people are GG.
Which is that we start to use intelligence to boost up our ego and self-esteem, right?
Average.
We try to use rationality to buffer against our self-esteem. But there's a fundamental problem with that, which is that intelligence, from an evolutionary standpoint, is not a defensive tool. It is not a self-esteem tool. It is a problem-solving tool. So if you literally look at the research on IQ, why do we even have IQ? Why are some people, on the whole, actually smarter than other people? And it's because IQ is a problem-solving tool, right? It's the way that our brain fixes problems on the outside. And as smart kids start to feel more lonely and as they start to have self-esteem problems, they really have one thing left, which is that I'm a smart kid. The other dimensions of my life may be crap, I may be lazy, I may be socially inept, but at least I'm smart. So they kind of hang...
Also, this fucking makes me, you know what this makes me question? Like, my brother has a very good social life, actually. How? Why? And he's not really even good with his EQ. He's not too good with emotional intelligence. Did he just never go through the ego phase because he was just very casual from the start about learning, so he never like got into the... that would make sense. Because like he was always too lazy to study, right? So because he was always too lazy to study, he always had above average grades, but never really, you know, perfect grades. Because he was way too lazy for everything. So I guess this laziness meant that he didn't see himself as a smart kid first. So he built proper social relationships and everything because his strength wasn't... He didn't know his strength was his intelligence. And then by the time he learned, he was already like formed. 4chan, bro. I keep on wanting to go there and not daring to go there, but I really, really want to see what people are posting there.
Identity on that hack. The other problem that happens
Just
is that
guessing.
we all have actually one major tool that's...
Oh yeah,
really,
that's
really
also
good,
kind of
right?
true.
Which is your
He does have... I like watching him. And also I think there's a good... I think there's something good about questioning yourself. I think there's something good about analyzing yourself through the lens of other people. So even if you can't... Even if you don't believe what the person is saying, even if you don't believe their analysis, I think it's good to still ask yourself some questions, right? So I think it's useful for that. But also... And I don't know, I would say psychology is useful regardless, right? It may not be a hard science, but it's still very, very useful, isn't it? Still very, very useful in society, and I still think we should be bringing more positive attention to it and to the effects of it. I got really into like researching mental health facilities in this area just a few days ago. I've learned that we have a local psychiatric business opened specifically for people who went through the war and needed to go get treatment because of PTSD. And I've also learned that basically nobody has applied ever since it has been opened. It's like state run, so you can get treatment for free, but almost no one went there. And that was interesting for me. I was like, why? How come? We live in a war-torn area. How come? And I talked to my mother about this, and she was like, oh yeah, we all definitely have PTSD. Like, absolutely. And even on people who haven't actually physically been present throughout the war, or people who haven't actually been in the trenches, you still see the effect of the warfare on them, because they had to live through the entire situation. So I was like, why didn't you go to a psychiatrist? And she was like, oh no, I don't want people to know that, like, there's something to look into, basically. So I don't know. I think it's a really, really useful science, and I really, really think we should be reacting to it being introduced into more of a popular sphere more often. What is this?
Cringelord 713 demands representation of https://wiki/travancore/media/fireflag_of_king
Nice.
_travancore.svg.
Oh, it's tiny. Nice. It became the most dominant state in Kerala. Cringe Lord, was this your fam? Were these your people? Did you just dox your family history to us? You definitely did it. You definitely did it, you little man.
And so then you start trying to fix your self-esteem with your intelligence. But the basic problem is that IQ did not develop to address self-esteem. That's not what it's for. IQ is a general problem-solving capability that we evolved to fix problems on the outside. It's not a tool that was designed to buffer our self-esteem. What's designed to buffer our self-esteem is actually emotions, right? So just think about this for a second. You can't logic your way to self-esteem. If you could logic your way to self-esteem, your fucking 140 IQ ass would have already done it, and you would be filled with confidence. Because if anyone can figure out how to logic their way to self-esteem, it would be you. But that's not actually how it works. Because when you were 6 years old and you scraped your knee and you went to mommy or daddy or any sort of adult, how did they make you feel better about yourself? Did they say, well, logically, the injury that you have is a small scrape, so it's nothing to worry about. You have not been damaged. You're not going to be disabled. There's no problem. There's no harm, really. It's just a small scrape. It'll heal on its own. So you should be okay. That's not what helps, right? Logicking your way when you're feeling bad doesn't work. What works is, oh, let me see that. Oh, my God. Did you get a little boo-boo? Oh, I'm sorry. It's not a little boo-boo. Oh, my God. Look at those 3 scrapes. Wow, does that hurt a lot? Okay. Well, should we put some ice on that?
Bro, the Balkan way is like the kids crying there, ignore them. This is fucking ridiculous, but like the Balkan way is literally, oh, if the kid gets harmed, but like in a non-serious way, if a kid gets harmed and they start crying, don't give them any attention. Because the idea is that if you give them attention, they will keep on crying for little bullshit reasons later. So if you see a kid crying for something, you just ignore them, and then usually like the kid responds by, you know, walking it off and just being chill later. So I guess it kind of works. It's just they're doing the exact opposite of what he's saying is helping. Catholics, just some folks that came into the kingdom for trade and settled in. Oh shit! So you're asking for a flag of your enemies. Best bullies in the world, if they reverse their tactics, I feel they are. It may be like with nurses, you know how nurses are fucking bullies? Probably the same fucking thing. Marijuana smokers in Estonia? Hey, I like the Baltic states thing. Estoners. I thought there's gonna be a meme. I was expecting a TikTok video or something.
Let me hug you, right? This is what actually works.
You
so this is another thing that we don't quite understand, which is that IQ is an offensive weapon. People who are super smart are like wizards and DPS mages. IQ is like flinging fireballs and lightning bolts to fix problems on the outside. I can take a high IQ kid, drop him into my private practice and say, hey, help me optimize patient flow through my workroom. Like, I can do that, and y'all can solve those problems. I've literally done that before. On the flip side, when it comes to buffering your self-esteem, a wizard is like not really great at casting healing spells or defensive magic, right? That's really what a healer is for. And that's kind of that emotional capability. That's kind of what healers are, is they're really built into that emotional capability. And so what starts to happen is we start dumping our whole mana pool instead of solving problems on the outside, trying to buffer up our self-esteem. Because if our self-esteem is in shambles, we can't even leave the house. And this is the core trap that people with high IQ fall into, is that they've had sort of emotional stunting because they've leaned so much on their cognitive development. They start to develop these things like cognitive empathy. They start to become lonely and have low self-esteem, and then they puff themselves up using their logic. This is why I'm still a good person. I will logic it out. But fundamentally, that's like a wizard dumping their whole mana bar into trying to heal something, instead of actually using the right kind of magic.
Made laws that prevented Jews, Muslims, and Christians from being persecuted.
Okay,
oh, nice.
Situation, what do we do about it? So the first thing that we've got to do is abandon our
People came from the outside to make laws so locals can't be persecuting religious people.
This is the only source of my self-esteem. But my friend, your self-esteem is already in the trash.
It's kind of like cool. Like people came from the outside and fixed us.
For you anyway. So get rid of it. And here's the reason why. So the fundamental problem with having self-esteem based on your intelligence is that it teaches you that your self-esteem has nothing to do with your actions. If you really think about it, being proud of being smart is the stupidest thing on the planet to be proud of. Because what did you do to deserve that? Right? Did you work hard? Nah. IQ is primarily dependent on genetics and maybe some amount of upbringing and whether you smoked a shit ton of pot when you were in your teenage years, right? That's really all it depends on. It's something that people are born with.
That makes sense.
A lot of IQ testing happens with like 4-year-olds. So the basic problem is that your identity is based on something that you don't even need to take credit for. Like, you don't deserve to take credit for that. You didn't do anything. So now this becomes a huge problem, because if your sense of identity is based on things that are outside of your control, that you don't actually do anything to deserve, it becomes really hard once you learn that, okay, my identity is based on stuff that is out of my control. Actions have no impact on your self-esteem. So when I work with smart kids and I ask them, well, did you try your best? They can't take any pride in that. What matters is the result, right? Well, like, it doesn't matter if I tried my best. If I tried my best and I fell short, I actually feel worse about myself. Well, hold on a second. Why is that? Well, if I tried my best and I didn't get it, that means I'm stupid. That means that I'm not good enough. That means that failure is inevitable. So now hold on a second. Let me understand this right. You're telling me that if you try your best and it doesn't work out, you view that as a failure instead of a success, right? Obviously, because it didn't work out. But think about what that does for the strategy of your life. You're not allowed to try your best. You're not allowed to fail. And if you try, you even have to self-sabotage. Because if you try your best and you fail, then you're absolutely screwed. But if I half-ass it, then there's a part of my ego that's like, aha, the reason I didn't get it is because I half-assed it. It's not because I'm stupid. And so
That
now
actually makes sense.
of either you half-ass it or you don't try at all.
I'm feeling
you develop
this.
a strategy where trying your hardest becomes something to avoid at all costs. And no wonder you're stuck. No wonder
That makes
you're lonely,
so
because
much
you
fucking
will not
sense.
let yourself give 100%. And that is the core problem that kids who are smart run into. The second thing that we need to do is catch that sense of identity in the present when you try to do something. So your smart, intelligent brain has figured out that, okay, in order to put together my life, I need to do certain things. But when you try to do those things, pay attention to what sabotages you. What sabotages you is that defensive arrogance. Oh, I can't do that because I'm not like that. I can't do that because other people are like that. I can't do that because I won't seem smart. I'll feel embarrassed to have to go into training where there are noobs who are teaching me how to use PowerPoint. I know how to use PowerPoint. I can figure it out on my own. I don't need someone to train me. I don't need to sit in a class for 2 weeks to learn how to use PowerPoint. I could watch YouTube in 2 hours and figure it out using my own, like watching tutorials and stuff. I don't need this. But the question is, do you end up learning how to use PowerPoint? Do you actually do that? Of course not. You may start to watch one tutorial and click on something else, and then you actually don't acquire the skills. 2 weeks go by and you should have sat in the class. But you can't, because it's humiliating. And so catch that in the moment and go to the class.
I see that.
Wow,
I see that.
This is me sabotaging. This is me not wanting to be humiliated by going to the class. And so then you have to ask yourself, I have a choice. I can make progress and feel humiliated, or I can feel proud and stay stuck. And if you're the person that I think you are, chances are you've chosen the latter many, 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 many times over. Anything but be humiliated, right? I will stay stuck on my ass for a long time rather than grow as a human being, because I can feel good about myself. So that identity has to go. The second thing that we've got to do is start working on your emotions. So this is where you can absolutely check out stuff that we have on alexithymia and all that kind of stuff, but I'm going to start super, super, super small. So generally speaking, when smart kids are lonely, one of the things that happens with loneliness is that it's like, how do you fix that? Do you spend time with someone? Is that sufficient to fix loneliness? Because you've tried that before. And this is where another thing I've noticed with a lot of smart kids who are lonely is that there's a lack of physical touch in their life. And if we sort of look at how human beings feel less alone, if we look at activating those emotions, human touch is one of the simplest ways in which we activate our emotions and activate a sense of connection. So the simple thing that you've got to do is, I know this sounds kind of weird, engage in human touch. Now, I don't mean go out there and start like touching people like, oh, Dr. K told me that I need to engage in human touch, and so you go and you just like touch someone. Don't do that, right? So what I would say is very simply, offer someone who needs a hug. So it can feel really embarrassing to ask for a hug. It can feel really creepy to ask for a hug. But as you go about your day, you may notice that there are people who are not having the best time. You can say, hey, it sounds like you're not having the best day. Do you need a hug? Just offer them a hug and just give them a simple hug. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less. Remember, we got to start small. And you're like, well, what do I do after that? Right? So there's your intelligence again saying that's not enough. That's not going to fix my problems. I don't want to take a first step unless I can figure out how to do the last step. What comes next? And that's the problem. You can't always know what comes next. You have to start taking simple steps to start making progress, right? That's the strategy. The strategy is not, I need to figure out 1 to 100 before I take step number 1. That's what got you here. The strategy, if you want to get to 100, is you got to take 1 step, and then you got to figure out the second one, and you got to figure out the third one, and then you got to figure out the fourth one. But you can take 1 step at a time. That's the only way you can do it. You can't climb a mountain in any other way than taking 1 step at a time. So what I encourage you all to do is try to engage in some human contact, right? And I know that everyone's going to meme about that, but I'm serious. Like, we know that hugging people leads to a release of oxytocin.
Do you think?
Now the common pediatric recommendation is that when you have a newborn child, that you do something called skin-to-skin contact. And there are some physiologic reasons for this. Babies have really thin skin, and they can't maintain their own body temperature, so their skin is actually really absorbent for your body heat. So that's one reason. But the other thing is that we know that this actually facilitates bonding.
Lamau, you think a baby is hugging you, but it's actually being a parasite and stealing your body heat.
That's why I'm saying don't go out there and ask for a hug, right? So how can we make it easy for you?
You're like, this is so cute, the baby's hugging me. No, baby doesn't give a shit about you.
That means that they may not want a hug right there.
If you were a warm water bottle, it would also be hugging it.
And so if you're someone who's ended up being kind of this lonely genius, genius. I don't blame you at all. Chances are you're in this situation because you had to adapt to a lot of circumstances in life. And the basic problem is that all of your adaptations tend to be cognitive in nature. And cognition just simply can't solve all of our problems. That's why our brains have emotional circuits instead of CPUs, right? A computer is a fully cognitive machine, sort of. I don't know, it's AI stuff, I guess, or theory of consciousness or whatever. But the whole point is that if you're smart, you probably let certain things like social skills,
Give me a sec, by the way.
atrophy.
I just remembered something.
Engaging some of those if you want to develop self-esteem and get connected to both yourself and other people in life.
Hey, I'm back. Wait, crowd? What does crowd means? What does crowd means? Crowd doesn't miss a thing. What does he not take into account? Crowd is based. Political science guy. So even his historic videos are about the politics? Yeah, that too. I think he's quite based though. Hey, have you watched that criticism video of crowd? I still haven't. The one which is like something. I don't know what it criticizes, but it criticizes him. I thought it would be in my recommended now, but it isn't. I've been getting it very, very often in my recommended lately. And it's just, I want to know what it says, but also I want to keep on watching crowd, so I don't want to watch what it says because I like him. But also I've said Europe videos and I haven't shown you my Europe videos, so we have to go through my Europe videos, this video and this video, and then also Slovakia. Do you know what's happening in Slovakia? Do you even guys remember Slovakia? Slovakia is fucking irrelevant, okay? Do you know where Slovakia is? How many of you think about Slovakia on a daily basis? Come on, be honest with me. Like right now, visualize in your head where it is. Were you visualizing this area? You weren't, were you? You weren't. You were visualizing somewhere here. That's what most people I've asked have told me. It's an irrelevant country and it's somewhere there. Slovakia and those Tatra or Matra big cars. Tatra or Matra. What's with their cars? Can I find like industry related? Oh, economy. Tatra, it's Tatra. I guess? No, Tatra mountain range. That's a mountain range. Fast growing economies though. Big cars. It is Tatra, big cars. Big Tatra cars. Tatra mountain. Tatra mountain. 4 tigers. Okay. Big cars. big tigers. Simping for Russia, really? I think that was not a notification per se, because that was such an important part of normal life. Ah, okay, I see that. I see that. I get to run over rocks. Fuck, now I need to see them. Is it like actually a fucking car brand? I thought it would be mentioned. I thought they would be mentioning it. They're not mentioning it. I should click here and then I should click here. And then from here... Popular culture. Notable people. Oh, it's a check. Bro, look at this. Look at this cool little thingy. Whoa. I would die for this. Good to run over rocks in this. You just go like... No, holy shit. What? Tocadita. Not to dox your existence, okay? But what fucking job does your father have to be dreaming about this? What sort of a person? What does he do in his free time? What? Why does he need this? Who needs this? What is it meant to do? That is you. Weapon smuggling? Ah, that makes sense. Electronics repairment? Oh. Fan of old good things that rocked. Okay, that makes sense. Romanian roads are just that bad. This is like a casual car on Romanian roads. Oh, nice. Wait, Tatra was copied by Beetle? So it was Tatra first? Was Tatra first? Tatra 600 Tatra plan. Tatra 700 at the museum. Whoa. Look at his screen. Is it a wooden pot? He's... Oh, this is fucking great. What a silly little vehicle. Hey, look, Tatra 111. That's like kinda Hamish. Oh, Colos. Wait, what is this? Moving forward? Bro. Nice. Actually, fucking cool company. Started with whatever the fuck that was up there. And then it made some aircraft. Give them to Ukraine. Why? Multiple bro. It's like, look at Tatra baby. Okay. Okay. Scott. Scott. How do I translate Scott into English? Bastard? I think it's bastard. The old trams look better than new trams. Oh, they do. Oh, they definitely do. New ones look like shit. New ones look ridiculous. They're too woozy. There's a word for that. Woozy. They have too many curves. I don't like them. Sterile looking. Maybe that's a good way to say it. Maybe that's a good way to say it. Yeah, modern stuff looks fucking weird. Old shit though looked really cool. You have too many curves. I know. It's a curse I have to live with. Maybe that's what makes it easier, you know, existing as a woman actually. So it's not a curse, it's a blessing. North Korea. Shit, did I save a video on North Korea? I wanted to save a video on why Russians are fucking losers for trying to cooperate with North Korea. Ah, I need to find this, I don't have it. Looks cute. See, look how beautiful this is. Look how beautiful this is. And then you're like, Novi tramvaj. Googling Croatian. This one's not even that bad. This one's bad. I don't like these. These, I think it's because he has... I'm GG with them. And kinda meh. Meh. Iran, North Korea and Russia. What a no surprise. No chance these three would manage to like cooperate long enough to actually become an axis of evil. They would kill each other before that happens. They would absolutely demolish each other before that happens.
September, Slovaks will head to the polls in an early election.
Look at Slovakia though.
The collapse of its government in May. We've made a video about this previously, so go and watch that if you haven't.
No, I haven't.
To briefly summarise, for the last 3 years, Slovakian politics has been stuck in a state of permanent chaos.
Oh, no.
The anti-corruption movement Olano, which won the last election, has failed to provide stable leadership to replace the long-ruling SMER party, led by ex-Prime Minister Robert Fico, who was forced to resign in 2018 after contract killers shot down a journalist investigating Fico's ties to the mafia. Despite having scandals of their own, SMER has once again become the favourite to win the upcoming election, which means that Fico could well return to power. This has sparked some anxiety in Europe, not just because of Fico's corruption-ridden past, but also because Fico has become an increasingly outspoken critic of Ukraine. So in this video, we thought we'd take another look
a man
at
who sent
Slovakia's
contract
election,
killers
the different
after a
elements
journalist
vying for
investigating
power,
him.
who's likely to win, and whether Slovakia
Surprise.
is on course to becoming another outcast from the EU and NATO, like Hungary is right now.
Actually, I have a good article saved on Hungary. I'll need to show it to you.
Before we start, if you haven't already, please consider subscribing and ringing the bell to stay in the loop and be notified when we release new videos. So let's get straight into it and take a look at the polls for this month's upcoming election, starting with the favourite SMER, which is currently looking at about 20%. SMER, meaning direction in Slovak, is a social democratic party at its core,
Means
being a member
smer.
of the Party of European Socialists on the EU level. Unlike most of it.
The fuck are these? I'm still trying to figure out what each group wants, my dude. I still have no idea what's the point. Oh, Socialists and Democrats. GG on Ukraine. We don't know what they think on immigration. 12 members have refused to vote to condemn Russia as a terrorist state. It wasn't him sending killer after journalist, but just allowing it to happen is a big disgrace. Yeah, and especially returning to politics after it happened. After you get out of politics for a scandal like that, you should stay out. Returning is just fucking cruel. Praise for the Germans.
However, SMER is notoriously conservative.
They're not stupid enough to.
And is highly critical of Ukraine.
They're not stupid enough to actually vote AFD. Do we think Germans are stupid enough to vote AFD? Where was the identity and democracy? Okay, Bulgaria, Germany, Italy, Slovakia. Smer. Okay, one Smer person has voted against. It was Monica. Who are you, Monica? She was one of the founding. She's known for her progressivism and left-wing views. How? One of the most active members of the parliament. Nice. Oh, I would kind of love to see what she thinks on vulnerable groups in Syria. Shit. You know, as a person supporting Russia right now, I would love to hear her opinions. And then it's personal life. Wait. Party career. Oh, nothing else? Nothing else? Deutsch, English. I guess no one else would be having more information on her. That kind of sucks. Oh shit, no, not you. Ish.
In just the last few months, their leader, Robert Fico, has openly railed against military aid to Ukraine or sanctions on Russia, and praised Gustav Husak, a hardline communist president who ruled Czechoslovakia in the 1970s and 80s. Just a week or so ago, Fico told a party conference that the war in Ukraine didn't start yesterday or even a year ago.
She's irrelevant
but
in Slovakia?
2014, when Ukrainian Nazis started killing Russians in Donbass, and unequivocally ruled out letting Ukraine into NATO. If you don't live in Slovakia, SMER's electoral appeal might seem a bit odd, given how most generally anti-Russian the rest of Europe is. But the Slovak public are actually the most pro-Russian in the EU. According to polling from September last year, over half of the population wants Russia to win the war, with only about 30% rooting for Ukraine and the remaining 20% saying they don't know. Even before the war, in 2021,
so that means like 70%.
56% of Slovaks agreeing with the notion that NATO is provoking Russia. Unsurprisingly, Slovaks therefore generally oppose sanctions on Russia. According to the latest
we have not bullied
Eurobarometer
Slovaks
polling,
enough.
44% of Slovaks disagree with sanctions, the highest figure in the EU. The largest force opposing SMER is Progressive Slovakia, President Zuzana Kapitova's party of origin. PS is a liberal pro-Western party
Slovenia is
which
actually
campaigns
kinda
staunchly against the return of Fico due to his suspected ties to the mafia. In the last election, the party ran in an electoral coalition with another party, but failed to cross the 7% threshold and didn't enter the parliament. This has helped them long term, as it completely distances them from the chaos of the last 3 years. At the time of writing, their support sits at about 16%. On third, with 12%, are Slovakia's other social democratic party, HLAS, or Voice, led by Peter Pellegrini, the former prime minister for SMER between 2018 and 2020.
Kind of pro-Russia, yeah.
Pellegrini constantly ranks as the most trusted and least unpopular
Basically
politician in the
70%
country,
of people.
with his catch-all platform focused on cost of living issues. For many, however, Pellegrini is still suspect, having been Fico's right-hand man for years. Despite this, it's not certain that the two parties form a coalition after elections, and Pellegrini said he couldn't imagine being in the same cabinet as Fico. Next, on 9%, are Republika, a pro-Russia and anti-EU party with neo-Nazi roots, founded in 2021. Republika has a strong social media presence, where it pushes anti-Soros, anti-LGBT and anti-vaccination content.
Of course they do.
Polling suggests they're the second most popular party among 18 to 30-year-olds, with 15.6% support. In fifth, on 7%, just above the threshold for coalitions, are the incumbent Ordinary People and Independent Personalities movement, or Olano. This populist anti-corruption movement beat SMER in the last election, but their government has collapsed multiple times due to recurring spats between its leader, Igor Matovic, and his coalition partners. To bolster itself, Olano formed an electoral coalition with smaller parties and has made bombastic promises, even pledging to give each citizen €500 for just going to vote. Alano's former
I would
coalition
go.
partners, the Libertarian SAS Party and the conservative populist We Are Family Party, aren't faring much better themselves, both sitting just above the 5% threshold for individual parties. The We Are Family Party haven't been helped by the fact that their leader, Speaker of the Parliament Boris Kolar, publicly confessed to beating one of his 11 girlfriends, mother of one of his 13 children. Adding to the chaos are the Christian Democratic Movement,
A
also polling
slut
at
in the
6%,
parliament.
an ultra-conservative party that supports military aid to Ukraine but describes LGBT as a disaster destroying the country, and the Slovak National Party, an older nationalist party that governed with SMER in the past. So, with this long list of parties out the way,
Like they hate
what could the next
LGBT, but
government
also
look
they
like?
support
Well, while
Ukraine.
the field is too chaotic to make predictions with any certainty, a lot could depend on HLAS. With HLAS's support, FICO
American
would
opinions?
probably be
Actually, I
able
feel
to
most
cobble
Americans are
together a
based.
right-wing coalition.
I feel
But
most Americans are
HLAS
based on
could
the
equally form a
situation.
coalition with PS and SAS.
It's just that
although
for
this
some
might
reason,
depend on the support from the more conservative
USA
We
is
Are
very
Family or
fucking
Christian
tribalistic.
Democrats. If FICO were to return, it could undermine the West's unity towards and support for Ukraine.
So it's very
However,
easy
it's
to
worth
push
saying
them
that
to
FICO is a
support the
ruthless
genocide.
pragmatist, and there's
If
a
you
chance
tell
he
them the
could
other
be
side
using
doesn't
anti-Western rhetoric to
support the
rally his
genocide.
base. After all, when he was actually Prime Minister, FICO introduced the euro and has generally supported EU integration. Nonetheless, from the EU's point of view, FICO's
So what,
return
Orban
would be
basically?
undeniably both risky and controversial. Now, this return would obviously be huge news for Europe, but something that affects not just Europe at the moment is the matter of increased oil prices, which we actually discussed in the daily discussion. There, myself and Zach sat down to discuss the intricacies of OPEC Plus to help us better understand what's really going on. In fact, we released these daily
No,
discussions...
when most Americans hate Russia and would use an excuse to fuck them, that's a based view. The problem is that not all Americans are like that. So that's a bit of a problem. You beat the USA in the World Cup. Congratulations, congratulations. I don't think USA are dummies. To be fair, Russia has been targeting them for a very, very long time, right? Russia has been targeting their society for a very, very long time. So I think one part of why USA is like this currently is because of the deep divide between the two sides of its politics. And this did happen in big part because of Russia. Like we know it happened because of Russia. We know what they were doing. So, it feels like I'm doing the reverse thing of what Americans do to us when they pretend we have no agency as people. That's what it's feeling right now. Oh my gosh, Russia's so based. Yeah. Or like thinking that they are pro-peace. Thinking they are the anti-war party. Thinking they are the people who don't want to see World War III happen. Stuff like that. There's plenty Americans who fall into the trap of supporting Russia right now, either directly or relatively indirectly. And it's unfortunate. It's a very, very strong country. It's like the actual superpower. As an ally, it would be so strong. It's unfortunate that they are so easy to fall trap to bullshit. Just bullshit. But yeah, I saved this article, by the way, which was on how to prevent an undesirable European presidency. So in a few months' time, rotating presidency will hand the reins of European Union to Hungary and then to Poland, starting in July 2024, just 1 month after the next elections. This was written on May 31st, by the way. The prospect is of the utmost concern to a number of MEPs who are currently exploring all avenues to try and prevent those two Eastern European countries from coming to power. So they have basically looked into how they could be stopping this. An interesting little thing. Yeah, Hungary and then Poland, yes. A broad coalition of parties in the European Parliament, so EPP and then Socialists and then Democrats, Renew Europe, the Greens and the European Left, intend to have a parliament vote in early June on a resolution. By the way, this is a relatively oldish video, okay? Stating that Hungary is not fit to assume the duties of the rotating presidency as it does not respect European Union law, the values enshrined in Article 2 of the Treaty on European Union, or the principle of sincere cooperation. What's the problem with Poland? It's not even, I don't know if it's clear corruption, but it's the faults in the system. So for example, one of the big problems with Poland is their judicial system. They have refused to fix their judicial system. They refused to fix, the courts. So the courts are directly controlled by the government, and Poland refuses to do anything about this, despite the fact that you're kind of supposed to keep it separate from the government, because keeping the courts separate from the government is usually how you ensure that corrupt politicians do find their place in jail. If the courts are directly controlled by the government, you will not see corrupt politicians ending up in jail cell. But also they did try to do the whole thing with anti-LGBT zones, just to kind of be edgy. They were against most of the ideas that European Union had on solving the refugee crisis. They just kind of keep on going against what European Union wants all the time. Most I hear pro-Russia because they're so anti-American. Oh yeah, that's true, definitely. It's a type of a worldview where the entirety of events that ever happened has happened because of what USA did. So whatever happens in the world at any point, it happened because of USA in some reason. And then because you hate USA, you are also against most of the events happening, especially if USA did play a clear part in them. So you see, the war happening right now, and you see that USA is helping Ukraine in this war, and you're like, the war happened because of USA, and also USA is now helping Ukraine. This must mean a bad thing because USA is always on the bad side. Just the whole... What's the word for it? USA exceptionalism. Anastasia pointed this out. I think it was at the time she started actually being online, and she has commented on how it's basically USA exceptionalism, just on a different type of a level than what we usually are seeing, because most USA exceptionalism, when you hear it, you expect that people think that USA is the best country in the world, like the most free country, the country with best laws, with best tax system, with best fucking everything, right? Because they adore it. But there's another type of USA exceptionalism, and it's saying that USA is the worst country in the world. Everything bad that happened in the world happened because of USA. So whenever there's a war happening, whenever there's violent protests happening or whatever, anywhere, you will find a way to blame USA for it. Just think of protests in Iran and how people blamed USA for starting it. Mostly against climate measures. Oh shit, that too. I got the urge to close some tabs if I have more than 5 open. Bro, I never have 5 tabs. I'm always on around 10. I stick to 10 approximately. I've never had less, because it's look, these are my videos. Okay, these are my videos. Here are the Europe videos. Here are the Russia videos. Here is my studying shit, so I can study out the stream. Then I have the chat thing. Then I have my Twitter thing. Then for some reason I have a bunch of Wikipedia things. I blame you people for sending me links. Avengers effect. Either USA is an evil villain or they're the best country in the world. That too works. It's a very, very lazy way to look at the world, right? But it's very, very prevalent, not even just in USA, also in other countries, but also in USA, let's be real. There's something about it. I saw a funny comment recently. Hey, thank you for the subby. I saw a funny comment recently from Anne. He claims to be American Serb, but I don't know if he is American Serb. I took it as an American, okay? And he basically wrote a comment about how he hates on Western culture, and his reason for hating on Western culture were movies Barbie and Oppenheimer, and because they are examples of Hollywood making white men hate themselves and think that they cause everything bad in the world, right? So that was the start of our conversation, and then I was like, bro, no, this has nothing to do with anything. Holy shit, how are you this stupid? But then interestingly, like, he goes into the whole thing of like everything bad that happens in the world is the fault of USA. Like whenever there's a bad event, it was our fault. He actually talks about like breakup of Yugoslavia, for example, as if it was the fault of USA when it wasn't. It had nothing to do with USA at all. But he talks about it as if it was the fault of USA. He mentions that's why the protests in Iran have been on my mind the whole day. He mentions the protests in Iran as the fault of USA. He's like, how many people got killed because they participated in the protest? This is the fault of USA for pushing people into this. It's like, do you not see how ironic it is? Because you're adopting the same view you think Hollywood is pushing onto men to like hate themselves and to see themselves as source of everything bad. You're adopting this stupid ass worldview for USA, for your own country. Like, you don't have that sort of power. You don't have that sort of an influence. Holy shit. Just come on, get real. 200, 300 tabs, can you have that many? I thought it was, what's the word? I thought less of them were possible to be held at the same time. I don't really know how it works. By the way, I still have to show you this video and then I have to leave. I have to go, I'll put pizza.
European governments was formed that would alter the course of the nations of
What's
Europe
Croatia?
forever. Gone were the years of war and diplomatic strife. It was clear that the founding members of the European Union had one primary goal in mind: a unified Europe, strengthened by the diversity and backgrounds of its member nations. You don't need to look any further than the EU's motto, in varietate concordia, a Latin phrase which simply means united in diversity. However, things aren't as simple as they seem. Although the original purpose of the EU was to provide a general economic, political, and military support structure that its constituent nations could take advantage of for mutual prosperity and protection, it became clear that many vocal advocates of a transnational European identity wanted to take the European Union a step further. Why stop at just a union of member states, when Europe could be something so much greater? Why go partway to a full integration when a European federation could further the interest of all of the people of Europe? Those that advocate for this federation are fighting for a new government, which many thought impossible just 100 years ago. So, what would a European federation look like? And is it even possible? Well, to look forward to the future of Europe, we have to turn back to the past to see how the European Union we have today came to be. The year is 1948. 3 years prior, Europe was ravaged by a brutal and unforgiving war, which was estimated to have taken tens of millions of lives, not to mention the vast amount of industry and economic development the war had destroyed. In light of these horrible
people are still saying that Merkel did with euros what Hitler couldn't do with military. I feel like your idea would just give fuel to that fire. I feel like your idea, if I were to print that out and like show it to boomers around, I feel they would start riots for us to leave European Union.
Events, and considering the fact that internationalism had been brought to recent
Actually,
popularity
depending,
with the
we
rise
did
of
have
the
some
UN, international defense was
people
a high
who would say,
priority among many Western European nations. So a few of these countries came together to form what would be known as the Western Union. This union, initially composed of the nations of France, the UK, Belgium, the Netherlands, and
You can get
Luxembourg,
France.
was formed for the purpose of providing defense to all member nations, while also including the possibility of further economic, cultural, and political cooperation. However, it didn't end there.
They
Several
have to
other
apply
pacts
for
would be
it?
formed amongst the nations of Europe, eventually leading to the European Union with the Maastricht Treaty and the Euro. Since then,
Maastricht.
it has grown in size from only 6 to 27, spanning most of the continent and forming a massive political and economic bloc,
Get Ukraine
which has
in.
been competitive with many of the world's greatest superpowers today. When you compare the Europe of the 1950s to how it is today, it has become a lot more federalized, even if it's not technically a federation today. So what comes next, if anything? Well, it's impossible to know for certain. However, a European federation could look much like a stronger European Union today. See, right now, the EU is still fundamentally just a treaty, whereas a European federation would be a nation-state with clear and defined roles, borders, and aspects, which can possibly be compared to something like
Swedes
the
are
US.
losers. I
The
don't want
European
Swedes.
Federation would have the highest court, which issued supreme
Swedes
decisions. It would
Swedes
have
are
a
in,
legislature
but
with
I
the
don't want
ability
them.
to tax its population universally, and it would
German,
most likely
I
have its
can't.
own
I can't
military
do it.
instead of relying on constituent nations to back it in times of armed conflict.
Can't do that.
Because of this, though,
Oh.
a truly united Europe would be a powerful geopolitical entity, capable of wielding influence which only the United States and China have today. Assuming all of the EU members agree to the formation of a European federation, it would have a population
They
of
won't.
450 million people, and an earth-shattering $17 trillion GDP, making it only third in the world behind China and the United States. In terms of military strength, although member states of the EU are typically non-aggressive, a few of them, like France for example, have large and impressive militaries. And of course, being united means they'd be way stronger. A combined military of the 27 member states of the EU could currently field an impressive 1.3 million active
But
duty
we already
military
have the
personnel,
defense
roughly